socially anxious wreck who gets so nervous around strangers that he pretends to be on the phone. Yet after awakening, he actually summoned a mad assassin. Others have to enter the tower to use their skills, but he can cheat and use his powers directly outside the tower. And this guy, who obeys him absolutely, turned all the loan sharks who came to collect debts the very next day into gifts. But before that day came, he was just an ordinary person who had not awakened. He thought he would go on living like this forever, in mediocrity. But today, a pop-up suddenly appeared before his eyes. Bong Joo-hyuk, you have awakened. He froze on the spot, too shocked to say a word. He never could have imagined that someone like him could awaken too. Awakening is something all hunters dream of. Once you awaken, it is like grasping wealth in your hands. But the problem is, only those who stay alive have the right to spend that wealth. Because entering the tower really can get you killed. Once hunters enter the world inside the tower, they may die in extreme weather, or die in all kinds of traps. In short, the world inside the tower is filled with countless dangers. And Bong Joo-hyuk is a severely socially anxious young man. Whenever a stranger appears near him, he immediately pretends to be on the phone. And he is also a complete coward. The more dangerous a place is, the less likely he is to go near it. But he never expected that he would awaken today. The next second, Bong Joo-hyuk raised his hand and muttered 3 words, status window. As soon as the words fell, a status window appeared before his eyes, displaying his personal information and level. He reached out and touched it. This was not a dream, and his trait was summoning. Awakened people gain an ability called a trait, which can take many forms, such as swordsmanship or marksmanship. And summoners can summon things like spirits, familiars, puppets, and magical beasts. The essence of summoning is that the summoner calls upon a specific type of summon creature. Bong Joo-hyuk felt his heart tighten, because it said random summon on it, and who knew what kind of thing would come out. The next moment, he opened his hand, preparing to begin the summon. But he waited for a long time, and nothing appeared before him. Only then did he suddenly remember something. A hunter's trait does not work outside the tower. In other words, a hunter's abilities and skills can only be used inside the tower. They cannot be activated outside it at all. The only thing hunters can do outside the tower is check their status window. Aside from that, they are no different from ordinary people. Thinking that he could even forget such common knowledge, Bong Joo-hyuk could not help cursing himself for being stupid. But just then, a mechanical voice sounded by his ear. The status window displayed, "You have successfully activated random summon." His pupils instantly widened. Bong Joo-hyuk turned his head toward the doorway in disbelief. There, wrapped in purple light, stood the outline of a person. Before long, the figure gradually solidified, and a man slowly walked out. Bong Joo-hyuk froze on the spot. He did not understand why he could summon outside the tower, and why what he summoned was a human. The man bowed to him. "Master, I am human. You guessed correctly." Just then, the man's nose suddenly twitched, as if he had smelled a familiar scent. He immediately walked to the table and looked at the instant noodles Bong Joo-hyuk had just prepared. "Excuse me, is this ramyeon? May I have a bite?" Bong Joo-hyuk was speechless for a moment. He seemed to have summoned a foodie. But what confused him even more was this. Why could his skill work outside the tower? And he had never heard that summoners could summon humans. A system message popped up. Humans and demihumans can be summoned. Summoning ranks are divided into rare, super rare, special super rare, and legendary rare. The summoner and the summon may communicate freely under any circumstances. What Bong Joo-hyuk felt was just like pulling a character card in a game. In addition, the summon must also obey 3 major principles. First principle, the protection of the summoner's life must be placed above all else. Second principle, the summon must obey the summoner's commands unconditionally. Third principle, when the first and second principles come into fundamental conflict, the first principle takes priority. This guy in front of him could actually obey him unconditionally. By the sound of it, that really was powerful. Several streams of information suddenly poured into Bong Joo-hyuk's mind, mixed with some scenes from before death. As a result, he instantly understood all of this human's information. It turned out he was an assassin, with a mission success rate as high as 99%. He was terrifyingly powerful, yet also such a headache that his guild was driven nearly insane by him. He had once taken on a group of powerful sorcerers by himself and wiped them all out. But he had a bizarre habit. He would wrap the severed heads of his victims as gifts. After assassinating that sorcerer, he fixed his gaze on the window of a high-rise building. And that room also became the place where he met his death. His target in that assassination was the strongest being on the continent, the one known as the Sword God. With just a single sword strike, Cossack was split in 2, and his memories ended there. Just then, Cossack suddenly patted Bong Joo-hyuk on the back. "Master, is there anything you need me to do?" Bong Joo-hyuk was so startled that his soul nearly flew out of his body, and he instantly jumped back more than 10 meters. But he quickly realized, he should not be afraid. because this was his summoned creature, and it could not possibly harm him. With that thought, Bong Joon-hyuk forcibly gathered his courage and let out a long breath. He might as well try giving an order. The next second, Bong Joon-hyuk told him to clean the entire room, and he actually did it, at an absurdly fast speed. Bong Joon-hyuk stared in shock. He really showed no resistance at all. Cossack let out a low laugh. "Master, I will follow all of your commands." At that moment, Bong Joon-hyuk told him to bark like a dog. The instant he heard the order, Cossack's gaze immediately changed. Bong Joon-hyuk instinctively took a few steps back. He had almost forgotten that this was an assassin. If he really lost control, he could kill him in a single move. But what Bong Joon-hyuk did not expect was that Cossack actually got down on the floor and barked like a dog, looking quite happy about it. Bong Joon-hyuk gave him a thumbs up on the spot. He was absolutely obedient to him. With that, he truly was not so afraid anymore. Just then, there was suddenly a knock at the door. Bong Joon-hyuk's heart sank. He had forgotten that today was the day to repay the loan sharks. The bank would not lend him money, so he could only turn to loan sharks. Because his father had injured his back and his younger brother still needed a large amount of tuition, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and borrow 10 million won from loan sharks. Although he had already repaid 5 million, all of that had gone to interest. Cossack burst into laughter, as if he had finally been waiting to start work. "Give the order, and I'll send you their heads as gifts." But Bong Joon-hyuk immediately shoved him away. "Don't make a sound. I'll handle this myself." As soon as Bong Joon-hyuk opened the door, a hand immediately landed on his neck. A man with a face full of scars stared at him and said, "The interest payment hasn't come through. I thought you might be sick, so I came to check on you." The scar-faced man showed a vicious look. "No money? Then pay with your kidney." One of the lackeys behind him laughed loudly. "Boss, that's a great idea. It'll even lighten his burden for him." Bong Joon-hyuk's face darkened. With this little amount of money, they thought it was enough to buy one of his kidneys? Bong Joon-hyuk said he would definitely repay the money as soon as possible and asked them not to rush him, just to give him a few more days. Hearing his promise, they threw down a threat and left. "If you still don't pay, we'll take your kidney as collateral." After they left, Cossack came out of the bathroom. If Bong Joon-hyuk entered the tower, maybe he really could earn enough money to pay off the debt. But how could a coward like him possibly climb that tower? Bong Joon-hyuk looked up at Cossack. "If you want to go back, I can cancel the summon right away." Cossack said he wanted to watch some TV for a while. It had been a long time since he had followed any dramas. Bong Joon-hyuk could not understand at all why he loved eating ramyeon and watching dramas, but he could still agree to such a small request. So that night, while Bong Joon-hyuk slept, Cossack sat beside him watching TV. Cossack looked frightening, but after all, he was Bong Joon-hyuk's summon, and he was also very gentle with him. Bong Joon-hyuk had not felt this kind of reassuring feeling for a very long time. In the past, all he knew was work and debt repayment. Now that there was another person by his side, it did not seem quite so bad. The next day, Bong Joon-hyuk's alarm rang. He looked up at the computer and found that Cossack had already disappeared. Cossack's duration was 6 hours, and after returning, he needed a 3-hour cooldown before he could be summoned again. Bong Joon-hyuk had no time to think further. He had to hurry and get up for work. While washing up, he heard the news reporting a murder case. An illegal private lending company called Smile Cash had been wiped out. Hearing Smile Cash, Bong Joon-hyuk's expression froze. Why did that sound so familiar? The news said that just last night, 3 victims in the company had been killed. Even more bizarrely, red ribbons had been tied to their heads. When Bong Joon-hyuk heard this, he could no longer sit still. Because no matter how he listened to it, this was Cossack's method. Bong Joon-hyuk completely broke down. Just yesterday, he had thought Cossack was reliable and made him feel safe. But then this happened today. What he had summoned was not a companion, but a mentally unstable murderous maniac. He took out his phone and searched, and immediately saw the bloody scene from last night. The victims seemed to have been tortured before death, and even their fingers had been forcibly bent out of shape. Most horrifying of all, a red bow had been tied to their heads. Bong Joon-hyuk felt that he was finished, because he was the true culprit behind this murder case. The victim's miserable state kept replaying in his mind, and even while going to work, it felt as if he were hallucinating. Bong Joon-hyuk wandered the streets in a daze and took 2 days off. He felt guilty toward those dead people in his heart. They were not good people, but they did not deserve to die. After returning home, Bong Joon-hyuk summoned Cossack. Just then, another window popped up before his eyes. The system told him to give Cossack a satisfaction rating. Bong Joon-hyuk had originally wanted to raise his middle finger and give him 1 star. But in the end, he was not that harsh, so he gave him 3 stars. The status window received the rating. Cossack's satisfaction rating for this time has been set to 3 stars. Bong Joon-hyuk's mother had once worked as a mediator at a water purifier rental company, and he knew very well how hurtful low ratings could be. So even if he was dissatisfied, he would not give 1 star, This was the scoring standard of a coward. Soon, Cossack was teleported back into Bong Joon-hyuk's room. He was as happy as a child. "Master gave me 3 stars. I will work even harder from now on." But Bong Joon-hyuk's expression was frighteningly cold. "Were you the one who killed those people who came to my house yesterday, Mr. Cossack?" What Bong Joon-hyuk did not expect was that Cossack was actually proud of it. While Bong Joon-hyuk was sleeping, he had eliminated the safety hazards for him. When Bong Joon-hyuk confirmed that the murderer was indeed Cossack, all that remained in his heart was unease. The person before him was a killer. It turned out that when those people broke in last night, Cossack had already placed a tracker's mark on them. Bong Joon-hyuk was very surprised. He had clearly not ordered any killing, so why had he done it? Cossack's logic was simple. They were a threat. The best way to deal with a threat was to eliminate it. And the reason he could do that was because of the summoned being's third principle. The meaning of the third principle was, when the first and second principles conflict, the first takes priority. In simple terms, absolute obedience under normal circumstances. But as long as the summoner's safety is involved, he can ignore orders. Bong Joon-hyuk gave an example. If the summoner ordered him to kill himself, that would create a conflict between the first and second principles, so he would disobey the order, right? Cossack said yes. But what confused Bong Joon-hyuk even more was this: at the time, he had not actually been under any real threat. Could the third principle really be interpreted so arbitrarily? If that was the case, then it was far too crazy, especially since the person in front of him was a madman to begin with. But right after saying that, Bong Joon-hyuk softly added an apology. Cossack was already used to it, because he often heard such words. But if this went on, what if one day Bong Joon-hyuk got bumped into by someone on the street, and that person cursed at him, "You wanna die? I'll gouge your eyes out." Something like that is usually just empty intimidation and not something they would necessarily do. But by Cossack's interpretation, that person's head might end up tied with a bow on the spot. The more Bong Joon-hyuk thought about it, the more his head hurt. There was simply no way to guard against something like this, and he did not want Cossack going around killing people either. The next moment, Cossack knelt directly in front of Bong Joon-hyuk and said it was his fault for causing his master so much trouble. Bong Joon-hyuk was silent for a moment, then made Cossack promise. From now on, unless someone had a knife to his neck, with the blade pressed against his throat, he was not allowed to kill anyone. Cossack immediately saluted. "Master, from now on, I will use my best judgment to decide whether to kill." Only then did Bong Joon-hyuk let out a sigh of relief. "I'm fine now. You can go back." But just then, Cossack suddenly asked him, "Have you considered climbing the tower?" Bong Joon-hyuk was stunned by the question. That place was far too dangerous, and going in could cost him his life. Although he had awakened and was unwilling to remain an ordinary person, his courage was truly too small. Bong Joon-hyuk really wanted to climb the tower, but he was also genuinely afraid. He could die at any moment. Bong Joon-hyuk asked Cossack, "Had there been other summoners, like him, who had summoned you before?" Cossack's eyes looked somewhat lonely. "There were once, but now, only Master can summon me." Bong Joon-hyuk laughed at himself. "Some people use their awakening to save the world, while I don't even have the courage to wager my life on it. How ridiculous." He even felt that perhaps even Cossack saw him in his heart as a pitiful coward. But to Bong Joon-hyuk's surprise, Cossack actually called him the greatest summoner in history. He walked excitedly up to Bong Joon-hyuk, his tone so serious it was almost like an oath. "The greatest virtue of a summoner is putting safety first. Courage is poison. A brave summoner is an extremely high-risk profession. They never know when they will die." Cossack instead felt that Bong Joon-hyuk's mindset was incredibly precious, because as long as Bong Joon-hyuk lived, Cossack could continue to exist in this world. So he wanted Bong Joon-hyuk to live quietly and keep living as long as possible. As for all the dirty work and hard work, he would handle it all. "Let's go climb the tower." Cossack's words kept Bong Joon-hyuk awake all night. What right did a coward like him have to climb the tower? But he also had to admit, because of Cossack's protection, he no longer had any debt. Now that the debt was gone, Bong Joon-hyuk planned to find an easy job and live a stable life. But just then, his phone suddenly rang. As soon as he answered, it was his father calling. His father said the hospital wanted to transfer him to a bigger hospital. But the family could not afford the enormous medical expenses, so his father had decided to leave the hospital and return home. After hanging up, Bong Joon-hyuk made a decision in his heart. That afternoon, he bought and fully equipped himself with all the gear he could get. He planned to first go take a look at the first floor. Just one look, and then come right back out. The moment there was danger, he would retreat immediately. When he was about to summon, he suddenly thought, it did not necessarily have to be Cossack. Maybe he could try someone else. But that thought was immediately rejected by the status window. Random summon cooldown remaining. 28 days and 1 hour. Helpless, he could only summon the killer Cossack once again. He only hoped Cossack did not know that he had actually wanted to switch him out just now. He told Cossack to get ready. We're entering the tower now. Cossack took one look and directly threw away the weapon in his hand. You won't need these, throw them away. After entering the tower, I'll be your guide. He then raised one finger. I guarantee you'll enter safely. You won't even have to lift a finger. Then Bong Joon-hyuk clicked confirm and entered the tower world. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in the safe zone of the tower world. After seeing the scene on the first floor clearly, Bong Joon-hyuk was completely stunned. This place was actually a barren wasteland. Cossack told him to walk forward boldly. As long as he was there, no monster would be able to touch Bong Joon-hyuk even once. Just then, Bong Joon-hyuk noticed changes in his body. The system inside the tower automatically adjusted his physical abilities to a level matching his rank, and his trait and combat skills could also be used. Bong Joon-hyuk was somewhat surprised. So this was what it felt like to be a hunter. Even though his level was low, he still felt stronger. Current mission: defeat 5 hard-skinned fat maggots. Failure condition: death or giving up. Complete within 2 hours. He looked up and saw several fat maggots lying there. He had read about this kind of creature online. The first floor was meant as a test, and hard-skinned fat maggots had almost no attack power, like training dummies. But their shells were very hard, making them difficult to kill. If he remembered correctly, an average hunter would need about 30 minutes to kill one. Now that Bong Joon-hyuk was a hunter too, he felt he could give it a try. After all, this place did not seem dangerous. But Cossack felt there was no need at all. Cossack slowly walked up to a hard-skinned fat maggot and stopped. Only after getting in front of it did Bong Joon-hyuk remember something. He had no weapon, so he would have to borrow one from Cossack. But the moment he turned around, that hard-skinned fat maggot also slowly rose up. A massive shadow directly covered Bong Joon-hyuk, and sweat immediately broke out on his forehead. Bong Joon-hyuk turned his head, his face darkening. Cossack, you do it instead. Cossack gave him a thumbs up. That was indeed the wise choice. The next moment, Cossack's figure flashed from 100 paces away to right in front of them. With just a light punch, he directly blasted that hard-skinned fat maggot to pieces. Immediately after, he charged forward and with one kick each, sent the remaining 5 maggots all flying into the air. Cossack crossed his hands, and 5 throwing knives popped out between his fingers. With several whooshing sounds, the knives shot toward those 5 fat maggots like arrows. After doing all that, Cossack turned back to Bong Joon-hyuk. Finished. Job done. This move was called Blade Burst. After the throwing knives pierced into the maggots' bodies, they transformed into explosive energy and blew them apart on the spot. Bong Joon-hyuk stared blankly. Mr. Cossack, you're really too strong, worthy of being one of the strongest people of that era. The maggot shells were actually blown into powder in an instant. A mission complete notification came from the status interface. Bong Joon-hyuk leveled up, and he obtained 1 kilogram of magic crystal. On top of that, he also received the Korean Region Tower First Floor S++ clear rating, and the system also awarded him a platinum badge. Bong Joon-hyuk became so excited he felt numb. The tower was way too easy, wasn't it? He felt like he was really about to get rich. But what he still did not know was that all hunters in Korea had received this notification at that very moment. When they saw the message, they were all shocked, and even began guessing who exactly had achieved such an outrageous accomplishment. This S-rank rating announcement was directly synchronized to all hunters in Korea, and Bong Joon-hyuk knew absolutely nothing about it. He directly exited the tower and returned home. He looked at the time and was genuinely startled. From entering to leaving, it had taken only 5 minutes. Cossack praised him for being amazing and said he had done very well today. But Bong Joon-hyuk had clearly done nothing at all, only stood there and watched. Bong Joon-hyuk placed the crystal and badge he had obtained on the table. He picked up the magic crystal and examined it carefully. This was still his first time seeing the real thing. Magic crystals are an essential industrial resource. In the early days after the tower appeared, prices were high, but now they had dropped sharply to about 50,000 won per 100 grams. Ever since the tower appeared globally 20 years ago, most ordinary people, including Bong Joon-hyuk, had known some basic common knowledge. But he had never heard of something called a platinum badge. He checked it on his phone. This thing was worth 50,000 won, which meant he had earned that much money in just a few minutes. But all the credit belonged to Cossack, so Bong Joon-hyuk prepared a lavish dinner for him. As soon as Cossack smelled it, his body trembled slightly. He showed an awkward expression. This dish smells very spicy. But he still raised his hand and prepared to eat. Thank you for the meal. Bong Joon-hyuk frowned. Don't talk like that. Keep your sentences shorter, and don't treat me like your master. Aren't we friends? Cossack said that after staying with his former summoners for so long, he had been influenced somewhat, but that he would change in the future. Bong Joon-hyuk muttered a couple of complaints in his heart. This feeling was like being influenced by an ex-girlfriend, and it made him somewhat uncomfortable. Cossack seemed to see through his thoughts, and after the two looked at each other, They both laughed at the same time, and neither said anything more. Bong Joon-hyuk felt that this guy was not dangerous at all now. As long as Kase could keep clearing the tower this smoothly, he would be able to earn money and send his father to a better hospital. Soon, it was the next morning. Bong Joon-hyuk got up very early and stuck a timetable on the wall, then stuck up another timetable. He worked at a convenience store during the day and a charcoal barbecue restaurant at night. He decided that instead of squeezing in scattered part-time jobs like before, he would conquer that tower together with Kasik. The next day, Bong Joon-hyuk summoned Kasik again, and this time he gave him a 5-star rating. Seeing how happy Kasik was, Bong Joon-hyuk instead felt puzzled. Was this rating really that important? The rating was indeed very important. The higher the score, the more benefits there were, such as manifestation time and growth efficiency. Soon, they entered the second floor of the Black Tower. Just like the first floor, they were teleported to the safe zone as soon as they entered. Second floor mission, defeat the cunning clever fat bugs. This time, they had to hunt 10 of them. Bong Joon-hyuk had also looked it up online. The bugs on the second floor scurried around everywhere and were very cunning. He asked Kasik how to clear the second floor, but Kasik said there was no need to think about it at all, because Kasik directly guaranteed, clear it within 3 minutes, then go home and watch dramas together. As soon as the words fell, Kasik's figure had already rushed out, with several throwing knives appearing in his hands at the same time. Bong Joon-hyuk shouted to him, "Do you want to eat chicken today? Or maybe have some more beer?" While fighting, Kasik called back, "If that's the case, that would be wonderful." Very soon, 3 maggots were wiped out on the spot by him. Bong Joon-hyuk felt it was absurd. This guy was like a madman, blasting through the second floor in no time, and they also got a reward of 200 grams of magic crystal. On top of that, 2 more notifications popped up, an S++ clear rating, and the award of a platinum badge. Bong Joon-hyuk had not expected that this rating would be so easy to obtain. So they went on to the third floor and defeated 10 frost fat maggots. This floor was no different from the previous 2, and the mission was completed quickly, with the same rewards and rating obtained again. Right after that came the 4th floor, and Kasik still cleared it with ease. Soon they arrived at the 5th floor, but it still failed to slow Kasik down. By now, Bong Joon-hyuk had already obtained 5 S++ ratings and 5 platinum badges, and the system therefore granted him a special privilege. Bong Joon-hyuk was somewhat surprised, so there were extra rewards too. This special privilege was Awakened Trait Enhancement. The privilege effect was that the summon limit increased to 2. The interface also displayed Bong Joon-hyuk's basic information. Now he could summon 2 summoned beings at the same time. Bong Joon-hyuk was stunned on the spot. This meant that while summoning Kasik, he could also summon another powerhouse to clear the tower together. This reward was too crucial. Kasik alone was already nearly invincible. With another one could be dedicated entirely to staying by his side and protecting him. Although there was still a long battle ahead, with 2 summons beside him, he would be much safer, and things were beginning to get more interesting. He checked the summon cooldown, and there were about 20 days left until the next random summon. Before then, they had to hold on, and they had to be careful in everything they did. Once the 20 days were up, the 3 of them could continue conquering the tower at ease. Bong Joon-hyuk decided to have Kasik challenge the 6th floor tomorrow. Meanwhile, inside Korea's Awakened Management Bureau, 3 senior officials were in a meeting. They had already been sitting here for 2 days. There were new surprises every day, and they did not even know when the next notification would sound, whether in the morning or at night. The woman beside him saw through the man's thoughts. "You're thinking about the notifications, aren't you?" The man's face reddened slightly. "I told you not to sneak up on people." The 2 of them were both senior executives of the Hunter Association. Lee Min-ah spoke slowly. "Another new notification just came in, a 6th floor clear, still with an S++ rating. Recently, global tower announcements had been appearing non-stop, all of them S++ level clear news. John Guang-il had already concluded that this was absolutely the work of the same person, and that person was still continuing to climb the tower. In John Guang-il's eyes, Bong Joon-hyuk clearly possessed unprecedented talent. He even predicted that Bong Joon-hyuk's upcoming clears might all be at this level. Just then, the director of Hunters slammed a hand onto the table. "You should all have investigated this already. Korea's highest record before this was only A rank, and above that, there are even higher grades. And an S++ evaluation figures a global announcement. This is intelligence we have just confirmed." In the current international environment, hunter poaching was very common. Kidnappings of hunters also happened frequently in the shadows. So the director made a decision. Before their carelessness allowed this person to slip away to another country, they had to find him immediately. The first step was to keep a close watch on all newly registered hunters. Very soon, 2 days passed. Bong Joon-hyuk had Kasik help him clean first. After cleaning, they would go clear the 8th floor. He noticed that the moment Kasik heard they were going to clear the tower, Even washing dishes became several times faster than usual. Before long, they entered the 8th floor. 8th floor mission, defeat 10 red spine frog warriors. Bong Joon-hyuk felt this group of giant frogs did not look easy to deal with. That tongue looked poisonous. Cossack's figure slowly charged forward. The next second, those frogs were harvested like crops and directly chopped into pieces. Bong Joon-hyuk stared blankly. Cossack was too strong. As long as he was there was no floor they could not clear. This floor also got the highest rating and a badge at top speed as usual. After returning home, Cossack said Bong Joon-hyuk had worked hard today too. But Bong Joon-hyuk had clearly done nothing today except watch him steamroll everything. But that was actually for the best. Bong Joon-hyuk could clear the tower without lifting a hand. It's all thanks to Mr. Cossack. Bong Joon-hyuk pulled out his wallet and took out 50,000 won, telling Cossack to go buy something to eat, as long as he did not cause trouble. But Cossack refused, because he could not go too far from the summoner. I'd rather stay home and watch TV. Then Cossack suggested ordering delivery. I want 10 chicken cutlets and 2 cans of beer. After saying that, he obediently went off to watch dramas like a little chick. At this point, Bong Joon-hyuk looked at the new reward, a tower use healing potion. He could give this to Cossack. As for the magic crystals on the table, there were already about 3.6 kilograms. If sold, they would be worth about 11.8 million won. So he really should consider cashing them all out. It had already been the 10th day since he started climbing the tower, and the clear of the 10th floor was also approaching. At first, Bong Joon-hyuk had only wanted to test the waters of this tower, but he had kept climbing every day. Yesterday's 9th floor had been jungle man-eating flowers. Those monsters looked terrifying, but they were still easy for Cossack. These days were so good that Bong Joon-hyuk had started fantasizing. Maybe in the future, he really would not have to worry about money. Cossack said that as long as he was there, he would let Bong Joon-hyuk live a good life, as long as Bong Joon-hyuk believed in him. So they continued forward and stepped into the 10th floor of the tower. The instant he entered the 10th floor, Bong Joon-hyuk clearly felt his physical abilities being adjusted again. Power surged within his body, and a mysterious sense of magic also came from his abdomen. That power was restless like a wild horse. He could clearly feel it inside himself. The next moment, Bong Joon-hyuk pressed a hand on Cossack's shoulder. Cossack, let me try this time. I want to do my part too. Cossack refused immediately. No, if the summoner gets hurt even a little, I'll smash my own head in. Bong Joon-hyuk told him not to worry. He himself already felt like a wild horse. But just as Bong Joon-hyuk said he wanted to fight side by side with Cossack, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. He smelled danger. He turned his head and saw a huge eye staring at him from not far away. The next moment, a complete giant mantis appeared in front of him. Its height was nearly not much shorter than the tree beside it. In comparison, the two of them looked pitifully small. Was this the boss-level lord of the 10th floor? Bong Joon-hyuk was numb with fear. How did other hunters even kill something like this? Cossack told him not to worry. He would handle this kind of low-level monster. Whether by coincidence or not, the mantis seemed to understand Cossack's words and was enraged in an instant. Bong Joon-hyuk stopped pretending too. He could just stand to the side and cheer Cossack on. Anyway, this was far from the first or second time he had embarrassed himself in front of Cossack, and Cossack probably would not mind. The next moment, the mantis swung its scythe-like claws, trying to slice Cossack to pieces on the spot. But in Cossack's eyes, the attack was laughably slow. He dodged it with a mere flicker of his body. Then Cossack's gaze suddenly turned ice-cold, and those half-closed eyes of his finally opened. It was the first time in the story that he opened his eyes, meaning he was getting serious. With 2 swift slashes, the mantis's body was cut apart on the spot. Cossack even had time to show off with a spinning knife in midair for Bong Joon-hyuk to see. Chief, do I look cool? Job's done. Let's go home and eat instant noodles. This floor also earned the highest rating and a badge. Since Bong Joon-hyuk had successfully accumulated 10 badges, the system granted him another special privilege. Bong Joon-hyuk could not help feeling expectant. What reward would it be this time? System reward. You may copy one skill possessed by a summoned being. Cossack told him he should learn Shadow Step, and not hesitate. Just choose Shadow Step. Cossack's reason was very direct. It would make escaping easier during battle. Bong Joon-hyuk was a little speechless. What do you take me for? Do I look like the kind of person who only thinks about running for his own life? But the next second, he learned Shadow Step anyway. Cossack was very satisfied. Good, even in battle, you now have the qualification to escape alive. After learning Shadow Step, Bong Joon-hyuk immediately began practicing. But the more he practiced, the more frustrated he became. Shadow Step was way too difficult. After training for so long, he still had not improved at all. The next day, which was the 11th day since he started climbing the tower, Bong Joon-hyuk received a phone call. The caller said they were from the Hunter Association Center and had called to confirm whether he had already awakened. After learning that he really had awakened, They immediately asked for his address, saying they would come over at once and would also help him apply for a large subsidy. On the other side, people from the Hunter Association Center were already preparing to head to Bong Joo-hyuk's residence immediately. John Gwang-il looked serious. "We need to move faster. We just received information on another awakened individual. If it is confirmed that he is that person, then we must take him away for protection and invite him to join the elite team." Meanwhile, after learning that guests were coming to the house, Bong Joo-hyuk cleaned the place until it was spotless. Soon, there was a knock at the door. They had arrived even faster than expected. Bong Joo-hyuk hurriedly invited them in. "The place is a little small, so I hope you don't mind." Lee Min-ah instantly stepped close to Bong Joo-hyuk and asked directly, "You're the one who got the highest ratings, right?" Lee Min-ah pressed Bong Joo-hyuk to his face, but how could he possibly admit it? Bong Joo-hyuk immediately stepped back to widen the distance. This woman was too dangerous, good-looking, and with eyes as sharp as knives. But Bong Joo-hyuk was even more shocked inside. What was going on? Did they have some way to identify awakened people that he did not know about? He forced himself to stay calm, act natural, deny everything. Bong Joo-hyuk raised his hand like a robot. "I don't know what you're talking about." Lee Min-ah became even more certain. He was lying, and far too obviously. John Gwang-il beside her said to Bong Joo-hyuk, "She was rude just now. My apologies." A moment later, they sat down to talk in detail, and the other side said they would ask a few questions to verify some facts. Before long, Bong Joo-hyuk took out all the magic crystals he had obtained, wanting to sell them to them, and said that he had already reached the 10th floor. Hearing the sensitive number 10th floor, the two of them immediately exchanged a look. The floor and the record matched perfectly. Lee Min-ah stared fixedly at Bong Joo-hyuk. "Could it really be this young man?" she asked. "Have you heard about the global announcements that have been making waves recently?" Bong Joo-hyuk tried to keep his tone steady. "Those S++ clearers? I've heard of them. As for who it is, I don't know, but I'm sure that person must be very strong." John Gwang-il told him not to be nervous. That one sentence from John Gwang-il, "Don't be nervous," instead pushed Bong Joo-hyuk into an even deeper abyss of tension. He started twitching, his whole body trembling, making him look even more suspicious. They then explained the contract options to Bong Joo-hyuk. The government divided hunters into two paths: the elite climbers and the ordinary climbers. Ordinary climbers plan their own climbing schedules and are more like freelancers, with relatively little state intervention. Elite climbers, on the other hand, work closely with the National Awakened Management Agency. They are obligated to challenge higher floors, but they also receive extensive support and benefits, including personal protection outside the tower, because outside the tower, hunters are almost no different from ordinary people. Additionally, if you join the elite team, your annual salary will be. But they did not know that Bong Joo-hyuk had not heard a single word. His mind held only one thought. Once his identity was exposed, reporters would block the entrance to his house. For someone with social anxiety, that was hell. Compared to that kind of honor, he would rather have nothing at all. Becoming the center of attention was the last thing he wanted. Just then, Bong Joo-hyuk interrupted John Gwang-il and said outright that he did not want to join the elite team. John Gwang-il froze. He had never seen anyone refuse recruitment into the elite team. Bong Joo-hyuk said he was more suited to the ordinary path. "To be honest, I'm not talented. Someone like me has no future. I only want to stop at a reasonable floor and take reasonable rewards. If you put me into the elite team, I'll only hold everyone back." John Gwang-il advised him not to reach a conclusion so quickly, but Bong Joo-hyuk had already made up his mind. Lee Min-ah sighed inwardly. "Kid, you just missed your chance. Many people stop at a certain stage, seeking only stable accumulation and easy profits. But this was the first time Lee Min-ah had heard someone say it so bluntly during screening. Someone this timid had no right to enter the elite team. Even if Bong Joo-hyuk were willing to join, they could not accept someone like this. The most important quality of the elite team was the will to keep climbing upward. John Gwang-il nodded. "We respect your decision and won't force you." Now only one thing remained. They had to see with their own eyes that Bong Joo-hyuk could enter the tower from home. Bong Joo-hyuk scratched his face. As expected, they were still testing him. They wanted to confirm whether he was the one who had been clearing all the way to the top. He could only continue lying. He said he would probably clear one floor while he was at it, but it usually took up almost the full time limit, so it might take close to 2 hours. Yet they actually said that even 2 hours was fine. Lee Min-ah gave a light laugh. "Don't feel pressured, just take it slow. We'll wait here at your house." After hearing that, Bong Joo-hyuk immediately stood up. He turned back and said to the two of them, "If you want to watch TV, use my computer. If you're thirsty, there are drinks in the fridge, help yourselves." The next second, under the gaze of the two of them, Bong Joo-hyuk disappeared from the room. After Bong Joo-hyuk left, both of their expressions darkened at the same time. "Do you think it's him?" Lee Min-ah's tone was very certain. "Absolutely impossible. I'd bet he'll give up on the 11th floor. The reason was simple. She knew the 11th floor was a stage specifically designed to test a hunter's fear. There was a B-rank Lord Centipede monster there, not especially powerful, but disgusting looking enough to mentally break people. John Guang-il also felt that made sense. So far, your judgment has never been wrong. So he prepared to call the director. This last awakened person isn't the one we're looking for either. But they did not know that at this moment, Bong Joo-hyuk had already summoned Cossack inside the tower. As always, Cossack made his entrance by bowing to Bong Joo-hyuk first. Mission for this floor: kill 100 long-tailed centipedes within 3 hours. Bong Joo-hyuk was alarmed inside, but Cossack said there was no need to worry. At most, it would take 5 minutes to clear. But this time, Bong Joo-hyuk asked Cossack to deliberately slow down, drag it out for at least over an hour, so as to avoid setting another S++ clear record. Cossack instantly understood what he meant. People outside were watching them, so once today's monsters were dead, the summon would be dismissed immediately. Bong Joo-hyuk was very satisfied. As long as he proved that he could enter the tower, that was enough. The identity of the S++ clearer should remain a mystery. Before long, Cossack casually cut down one centipede monster. To him, it was as easy as stepping on a bug. Bong Joo-hyuk lowered his voice from behind. A little slower, you're still too fast at this speed. But before he had even finished speaking, a centipede suddenly shot out from under his feet and knocked him flying. Bong Joo-hyuk cursed madly in his heart. Your opponent is Cossack. Why are you charging at me? More centipedes closed in from all directions. Just as he was about to use a skill to retreat, he found that his body could not move. This time Cossack directly opened his eyes. He too realized that something was wrong. The next moment, he ignored Bong Joo-hyuk's order to slow down, automatically triggered the third principle, and rushed over in an instant to protect his master. The centipede monsters that looked horrifying beyond belief in Bong Joo-hyuk's eyes could not endure even one move in Cossack's hands. Cossack swung his twin blades like a reaper, directly shredding the centipede swarm. Bong Joo-hyuk was dumbfounded. Didn't I tell you to go slower? But in just 2 minutes, Cossack completed 50 kills. Bong Joo-hyuk ordered him that he had to slow the pace, but Cossack refused. Protecting the summoner's life was the first priority. Bong Joo-hyuk was completely speechless. If he kept going this hard, wouldn't the mission end immediately? Sure enough, after another minute, Cossack completed the mission and once again got an S++ clear rating and a badge. Cossack apologized to his master, but also reminded him his master could now challenge the 12th floor. Bong Joo-hyuk could not say a single word. How was he supposed to explain this to the two people outside? Meanwhile, only 5 minutes had passed outside the tower, and Lee Min-ah was still thinking that Bong Joo-hyuk was probably about to give up and come out. But just then, a notification window suddenly popped up in front of her. The notification showed someone in Korea had obtained an S++ rating on the 11th floor. Before she could react, Bong Joo-hyuk's figure returned to the room. Lee Min-ah's pupils contracted. The timing of his appearance and the notification overlapped perfectly. This could not be a coincidence. She did not believe in coincidences. There was only one answer left. Bong Joo-hyuk was the mysterious S++ achiever. Bong Joo-hyuk slowly opened his mouth. I really didn't want it to come to this. The two of you have to die here today. I'll have to silence you. But the two of them looked at him blankly. What are you daydreaming about? Only then did Bong Joo-hyuk come back to his senses. That had just been his fantasy. Cossack had already been dismissed by him. He gave a light cough to hide the awkwardness, but after confirming his identity, they immediately turned to another goal, getting him to join the elite team. Bong Joo-hyuk could only continue playing dumb. There must be some mistake somewhere for me to overlap in time with that hunter. How could something like that happen in this world? But the Hunter Association was not stupid. They had long since seen through it. Bong Joo-hyuk was that person. John Guang-il decided to stabilize him first and stop pressing the identity issue, instead taking out a contract and placing it in front of Bong Joo-hyuk. After reading the contract, Bong Joo-hyuk's expression became even gloomier. What he wanted was a standard contract, but what lay before him was an elite contract. John Guang-il raised a hand and pointed. This case is special. You can think of it as a one-of-a-kind contract in the industry. More accurately, it was a super elite contract, a special management category. If he signed it, his annual salary would be 12 billion won, plus real estate and security provisions. There was also immunity privilege, that is, on certain levels, exemption clauses that stood above the law. After hearing the explanation, Bong Joo-hyuk's heart pounded wildly. This was almost aristocratic treatment. Korea's #1 hunter, Yoo Cheol-min, also enjoyed benefits at the same level. But even with conditions this outrageous, Bong Joo-hyuk still refused. He gathered his courage and said loudly, unless it's a standard contract, I won't sign. Neither of them understood. Why are you so resistant? This clearly has only benefits for you. Bong Joo-hyuk could only explain his hardship. He did not want to become the center of attention. As long as people were watching him, he would feel burdened. For example, when buying clothes, if someone came even a little too close, he would get nervous. When that burden accumulated over time, it became stress. He had severe social anxiety. Only then did the two hunters understand. So that was it. It was also their first time seeing such an introverted boy. Bong Joon-hyuk said that right now he was only interested in climbing the tower, but this was only the 11th floor. There were too many uncertainties ahead, and he was not confident either. So for now, taking a step back was safer. John Gwang-il said he understood. Then we'll go with the standard contract. Thus, the two sides quickly reached a cooperation agreement. Bong Joon-hyuk had originally thought they would persuade him to boldly sign the elite contract and continue climbing while enjoying the benefits. But he understood clearly, an elite contract meant responsibility and pressure. Once in, he would not even be able to stop if he wanted to. The purpose of those teams was to clear the unexplored upper floors. He did not want to carry that burden. He only wanted life to become a little easier than before, and that was enough. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day, inside the Hunter Association office building. After returning, the two of them reported yesterday's situation to the director. The director frowned. Didn't you say he was timid and lacked the will to climb? A person like that actually broke records? I can't understand it. John Gwang-il explained. His personality is indeed somewhat unusual. From yesterday's conversation, John Gwang-il had felt Bong Joon-hyuk's ordinariness. But that ordinariness was not ordinary ordinariness. It was an ordinariness painful enough to hurt. He did not know what this young man had gone through to become like this. The director suspected they had misjudged him, but Lee Min-ah declared that was impossible. The timing matched too perfectly. The director's expression turned colder. If that's the case, then so what if he's timid? His talent is extraordinary. No matter what, we have to pull him into the elite team. John Gwang-il nodded. I will bring Bong Joon-hyuk into the elite team. Meanwhile, on the other side, Bong Joon-hyuk was yelling at Kasek. Last time I told you to slow down, and you were still that fast. What Kasek did not know was that Bong Joon-hyuk was actually pretending to be angry. He was only emphasizing that from now on. He absolutely had to go slower, or else he would not summon him next time. After that, they entered the 12th floor of the tower. Mission for this floor, kill 20 ice spike fur weasels within 3 hours. Kasek assured Bong Joon-hyuk that this time, he would definitely drag the clear time to over an hour. Bong Joon-hyuk secretly felt delighted. Since Kasek answered so decisively, he would trust him this once. As long as the 12th floor was cleared normally, the association might lose interest in him, and he could get rid of the surveillance. But after only 12 seconds, Bong Joon-hyuk's hair was frozen by the cold air. He shivered so hard he felt like his heart was going to stop. But he had to hold out for a full hour. He thought to himself, it should be fine, right? Who knew that the moment Kasek saw this, he panicked on the spot. Master, I'll end this immediately and send you back to a warm room at once. The next moment, Kasek burst forward. Bong Joon-hyuk hurriedly shouted for him not to speed up and to drag it out as much as possible. But Kasek completely ignored him. The third principle automatically took effect. Bong Joon-hyuk's life and safety came first. Bong Joon-hyuk's mentality collapsed on the spot. What happened to absolute obedience? As a result, he once again got the highest rating, along with a platinum badge. An hour later, the two hunters received a call from Bong Joon-hyuk. He had already cleared the 12th floor, but he might get stuck on the 13th. After hanging up, Bong Joon-hyuk's face looked frighteningly dark, while Kasek behind him still wanted to keep watching dramas. Bong Joon-hyuk raised his hand and dismissed Kasek's summon on the spot. You won't even listen to my orders anymore, and you still want to watch TV? The next day, they set foot on the 13th floor of the tower. The mission on this floor was to pass through a corridor full of traps. Kasek picked Bong Joon-hyuk up in one arm and charged straight into the trap zone, even assuring him that he would finish as quickly as possible. As a result, it took only 1 minute for Bong Joon-hyuk to get the highest tier clear rating again. Then came the 14th floor, where Kasek took down several bats with just a few knife strikes. And Bong Joon-hyuk watched the whole time, never even getting a chance to make a move. Very soon, hunters across Korea received another notification for the 14th floor clear rating. During this time, Bong Joon-hyuk had also earned quite a lot of money. He could hardly believe it himself. In just 14 days, he had earned 7 million won. If he could push to the 20th floor this smoothly and without trouble, wouldn't he make even more? His daily income had now reached 1 million won, and at this rate, 30 million won a month no longer seemed impossible. Soon it was the third day, and Bong Joon-hyuk summoned Kasek again, preparing to tackle the 15th floor. He vaguely felt that he had become a little greedy, but the more rewards stacked up, the safer he became. After arriving at the 15th floor, Bong Joon-hyuk poked his head out and carefully observed the area ahead. Not far away, the place was packed dense with goblins. Kasek told him to hide well. This group of goblins was very cunning, so leave the rest to him and he would finish in a short time. The next second, Cossack activated stealth, his presence completely disappearing as his body turned invisible. With a single flash of blade light, 2 goblins lost their heads on the spot. And just like that, they cleared the 15th floor. The past few days of climbing had gone so smoothly it felt unreal. The next second, they returned to the room. Bong Joon-hyuk slowly raised his hand and summoned the status panel. Inside the inventory, the platinum badges had already accumulated to 15. And as for this extra reward, Bong Joon-hyuk had already had a hunch. 1 triggered every time he collected 5. 5 had given him trade enhancement, 10 had given him a copied skill. This time, what would it be? Bong Joon-hyuk impatiently opened the special reward, Energy Barrier Kit. He discovered that the kit was extremely portable, almost the same size as an ordinary wristband. Bong Joon-hyuk put on the wristband and pressed it lightly. The next second, a layer of energy armor appeared over his whole body, almost full coverage equipment. The only limitation was a 5-hour interval between uses, and the shield's strength would rise along with his level. What made Bong Joon-hyuk's heart race even more was this: the item could be used in the real world. If he sold it, it would probably go for around 3 billion won. But at this moment, Bong Joon-hyuk's thinking had already changed. With Cossack beside him, what did he have to fear? Clearing the tower felt like taking a walk. But what Cossack said next made Bong Joon-hyuk pause. He actually stopped guaranteeing that they could keep getting S++ from here on. Cossack reminded him that the enemies ahead would only grow stronger, so Master must be careful, and absolutely must not die. Bong Joon-hyuk again had the thought of selling the bracelet. Maybe it would be better to sell it and quit the hunter path entirely. Time passed like that for a while, and at the Hunter Association Center, they had already received the highest rating notifications 15 days ago. But what gave them a headache was this: a full 15 days had passed, and that person seemed to have no intention of continuing to climb. The director was extremely irritated. Fate had somehow handed this kind of talent to a hunter so timid he trembled. John Guang-il hesitated somewhat. From the 16th floor onward, the difficulty really does spike sharply, but that person probably wouldn't just stop there. Let's wait a little longer. Just then, he received a call from Bong Joon-hyuk. Bong Joon-hyuk said he wanted to use the hunter shop. The moment the director heard that, he visibly jolted, and a guess immediately surfaced in his mind. He guessed that the reason Bong Joon-hyuk had not gone up to the 16th floor was because he lacked money to buy equipment, so he had been repeatedly farming the 15th floor to save resources. After all, when John Guang-il had first gone to his house, the place really had been shabby. The director wanted to slap himself twice. He had actually suspected that Bong Joon-hyuk was cowardly. They had nearly blamed this genius without knowing the truth, and they had to make sure he could buy whatever he needed at the lowest price possible. Time returned to 15 days earlier. Bong Joon-hyuk lifted his shirt and told Cossack to stab him once with a dagger, to strike him in the stomach. Cossack looked speechless. This obviously violated the 3 principles, and he thought Bong Joon-hyuk was deliberately making things difficult for him. If you're going to treat me like this, you might as well just kill me. But Bong Joon-hyuk only wanted to test whether the barrier worked properly. He was not trying to die. Even so, Cossack was still troubled to the extreme. He simply could not bring himself to hurt Bong Joon-hyuk. At the moment Cossack froze, Bong Joon-hyuk grabbed his hand and forced the knife straight into his own stomach. The moment he saw blood, Bong Joon-hyuk immediately gulped down a healing potion. He had forgotten to activate the barrier just now and had stabbed himself for nothing, stupid beyond belief. Cossack looked like he was about to cry. Don't ever do something that foolish again. Then Cossack's figure vanished from before Bong Joon-hyuk's eyes and immediately went to clear the 15th floor. During this period, no matter what happened, Cossack could clear the monsters within 5 minutes. And while Cossack was out hunting, Bong Joon-hyuk used the gaps in time to repeatedly practice his own skill. He muttered softly, "Shadow step." The next moment, several afterimages appeared around his body. Immediately after, his body flashed more than 10 meters away. A rush of exhilaration surged through Bong Joon-hyuk's heart. This feeling was almost like teleportation. He began practicing over and over in the forest until he had mastered the skill. Only then did he finally understand why Cossack had insisted on making him learn Shadow Step. At that moment, with one flash step, he suddenly appeared right in front of a goblin. The goblin stared at Bong Joon-hyuk nervously. Man and monster looked at each other awkwardly. Had this goblin been hiding from Cossack's pursuit? Bong Joon-hyuk's legs nearly went weak. He had only just learned Shadow Step and was no match for a goblin at all. The moment the goblin saw Bong Joon-hyuk, it went berserk and lunged to bite him. At the line between life and death, Bong Joon-hyuk raised his right hand and activated the bracer. He kicked the goblin away with one leg, even shattering its teeth. That scene was also seen by Cossack in the distance. Cossack immediately turned back and cut down the goblin with one reverse slash. Nice equipment. Master, did you play soccer before? But the next second, he realized something was wrong. How had Master run into a goblin? That meant Master had really been in danger just now. Thinking of that, he directly abandoned the monsters behind him and launched himself back to Bong Ju-hyuk's side. He asked nervously, "Master, are you alright?" He checked Bong Ju-hyuk from head to toe for wounds. After all, that had been a goblin. This time, Cossack was genuinely angry. "I've told you many times, you shouldn't be this reckless." After farming the 15th floor repeatedly for half a month like this, Bong Ju-hyuk had become much more proficient in using his skill. Time returned to half a month later, when Bong Ju-hyuk arrived at the hunter shop as agreed to purchase supplies. John Guang-il came forward with a smile. "Long time no see. You've been looking well lately." Bong Ju-hyuk found the other party's attitude absurdly good, almost like he was receiving some distinguished VIP. After reaching the shop, Bong Ju-hyuk registered an account using his fingerprint. From now on, he could use the shop at any time without making a phone reservation in advance. After walking into the store, Bong Ju-hyuk discovered that it was absurdly high-end, yet there was not a single customer inside. Bong Ju-hyuk could not help guessing. Was it because everything here was too expensive, so no one dared buy anything? But for now, the most important thing was to sell all the magic crystals. After being weighed, those magic crystals were valued at more than 11 million won. If he wanted, he could also buy weapons here directly. Bong Ju-hyuk's social anxiety flared up again. Whenever he met strangers, all he wanted was to leave as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the director had been observing remotely the whole time. "Is that hunter shopping going smoothly?" "Very smoothly. He is browsing the products, and we have informed the other hunters that the store is closed for business today." As for prices, arrangements had also been made. All goods would be sold to him at a discount. Because Bong Ju-hyuk had a shy personality, simply giving things to him for free would instead make him uncomfortable and might even trigger resistance. After finishing his purchases, Bong Ju-hyuk returned home. This time, he had bought a weapon similar to a staff, along with a pair of boots, spending a total of 5 million won. But he had heard that most products started at 4 million won. He had no idea how he had managed to buy things this cheap, and with team leader John Guang-il personally receiving him. The more Bong Ju-hyuk thought about it, the stranger it felt. This was obviously special treatment, but where in this world were there ever truly free benefits? The feeling left him uneasy, though those boots really were cute. With just that one pair of boots, he could make up for most of his defensive needs, and that was all thanks to the integrated equipment system's energy barrier. Bong Ju-hyuk had once told himself not to become greedy after starting to climb, but talent and reward were pushing him to change. No one could forever resist wanting to go higher. So the next day, Bong Ju-hyuk summoned Cossack again. He bluntly told Cossack the goal for today: clear the 16th floor as fast as possible. And there was more good news. The cooldown for random summon had finally ended. Cossack also showed an expectant expression. He very much wanted to see what kind of human would be summoned this time. The next moment, Bong Ju-hyuk activated random summon. The scene before him was almost exactly the same as when Cossack had first appeared. The human silhouette slowly solidified. But very soon, Bong Ju-hyuk felt that something was wrong. That guy's body was rapidly swelling, and it kept growing, his head directly punching a hole through the ceiling. Bong Ju-hyuk froze on the spot. What kind of monster had he summoned? A moment later, the man forcibly pulled his head back out of the ceiling. But the next second, Cossack leaped up and kicked him. "You idiot, sit down." That kick landed solidly on the man's head. As soon as the big man sat down, Cossack kept palming him while gritting his teeth and cursing, "Why did it have to be you? Are you here to ruin my life?" Bong Ju-hyuk immediately became certain. The two of them definitely knew each other from before. Under Cossack's beating, the giant actually said with a serious face, "Doesn't hurt at all." That sentence directly ignited Cossack's killing intent. "Wait until I slit your throat and tie a pretty ribbon around it." The next second, Cossack was about to charge him. But Bong Ju-hyuk immediately stopped him. "Both of you, stop right now." Hearing the order, Cossack halted immediately. And what pained Bong Ju-hyuk was that he would now have to pay to fix the hole in the ceiling. Cossack suppressed his anger and explained. This guy was very famous in their circles, notoriously so, because he was a complete and utter idiot, and Cossack would even dare say he could not remember the 3 principles. The giant actually began reciting the 3 principles on the spot. The first was to obey the summoner. The second was to prioritize understanding the summoner's value. When he got to the third, he immediately got stuck. Cossack was shaking with rage. "Trash, you even got the second principle wrong. I should kill you right now so you can't be summoned again for 100 days. Then Bong Ju-hyuk saw his status window. Fish Shield Savage Meat Tank of the Great Plains Tribe, Rare, Lowest, Manifestation Time 10 hours. Seeing lowest tier Rare, Bong Ju-hyuk felt a bit disappointed. It looked like he would have to wait another month to gamble on the next summon. Then Bong Ju-hyuk examined all his information like an interviewer. Name, background, he knew nothing. A numb electric sensation passed through Bong Joon-hyuk's mind. His consciousness suddenly dropped. This felt exactly the same as when he had read Cossack's memories, and the replay of life began. The next second, he landed in an unfamiliar scene, with no idea where he was. And standing ahead was that big fool himself. He came from the Great Plains tribe and was a wild warrior, his soul so pure that he could feel happiness simply by being with nature. But he also had a terrifying talent. His physical abilities were absurdly high. When a wild wolf pounced at him, not only was he not afraid, he actually thought it wanted to play with him. But his slowness and kindness eventually became the opening others used to exploit him. When someone discovered that he was an idiot, they were even trembling with joy. In the end, this wild warrior fell into the trap of false heroes. During a battle against the super monster Hydra, he was thrown onto the battlefield as a meat shield. But relying on his tough body, he withstood the Hydra's breath head-on and even tore off one head after another in return. He did not realize that his skin was being melted away by acid, sustaining himself only with the one belief of protecting my companions. In the end, he died from the excessive acid accumulated inside his body. Before his death, he was even mocked by those so-called companions gathered around him. "You're really stupid. Thanks to you, we won so easily." Seeing that scene, Bong Joon-hyuk felt as though his heart were being gripped. Someone so strong and so pure had died such a miserable death. Those people were too despicable. The memory ended, and Bong Joon-hyuk returned to reality. But at this moment, tears actually fell from his eyes. So what if this person was a bit slow? Bong Joon-hyuk raised his hand and welcomed him to join. From today onward, they would climb this black tower together. While shaking hands, Bong Joon-hyuk gave him a name. "Do you prefer Yaman or Gobang?" In the end, the big guy chose Gobang. Bong Joon-hyuk promised Gobang that he would let him live happily. Then he turned to Cossack. "From now on, the three of us are comrades. Let's work hard together." Cossack's expression had been ugly, but then he suddenly realized something. He said excitedly to Bong Joon-hyuk, "This guy may be slow, but he's a reliable tank. I'll train him into a real man." Thus, a strange trio was born. One dull-witted tank, one crazy assassin, and one cowardly summoner. In theory, it was a disastrous combination, but perhaps it would produce unexpected results. Soon, they arrived at the 16th floor. The mission was to eliminate 16 scout goblins within 5 hours. The moment they stepped into this floor, Cossack repeatedly reminded Bong Joon-hyuk, "If danger appeared, use shadow step to retreat." They walked into a forest, where a group of goblins was lying in ambush in the shadows. While Bong Joon-hyuk noticed nothing, one goblin up in a tree had already locked onto him. The goblin puffed out its cheeks and blew sharply, and the hidden projectile in its tube shot out like a bullet. At the critical moment, Cossack raised his hand and caught the incoming dart directly. Bong Joon-hyuk felt a chill run down his back from fright. The next second, the ambush was exposed, and several goblins charged at them at once. Bong Joon-hyuk immediately shrank behind a rock. Cossack's hands moved so fast they left after images, constantly blocking the rain of arrows, and warned Bong Joon-hyuk not to show his head. If he did, he might die. The arrow storm was terrifyingly dense, and Bong Joon-hyuk's heart tightened. This was not some small-scale skirmish at all. There were probably far more than 50 goblins in ambush. Just then, Gobang beside him moved. His eyes turned ferocious like a beast's. "You dare try to kill my master, then all of you have to die." That enormous foot of his slammed hard into the ground. The next second, he sprang into the air as if loaded with springs, preparing to crash down. The goblins were all dumbstruck. They had never seen such an absurdly monstrous body size. On the other side, Cossack was still harvesting goblins like crazy, but suddenly saw them start fleeing, and for a moment he did not understand why. He slowly turned his head and only then realized something was wrong. A massive shadow had already covered him. With a thunderous boom, Gobang smashed into the ground, and the shockwave sent all the surrounding goblins flying into the air. Not just the goblins, even Cossack was swept up into the air. Bong Joon-hyuk, hiding in the rear, was so stunned he could not speak. This looked less like a battle and more like a natural disaster. At this moment, the goblins were breaking out in cold sweat and desperately swarming Gobang. Gobang repeated the same line, "Doesn't hurt at all. I don't feel a thing." Then he burst forward, and with just one punch sent a whole patch of goblins flying. More accurately, he rammed forward with his fist held out, and any goblin that touched his shoulder was instantly crushed. Bong Joon-hyuk watched with blood racing through him. This level of combat power was only rare. In raw strength, he felt it was at least special super rare. Had he been rated rare because of his intelligence? After clearing the floor with ease, Bong Joon-hyuk went home and ordered more than a dozen fried chicken leg sets for Gobang. Gobang's performance today had left Bong Joon-hyuk very satisfied. As long as he kept doing well, there would be chicken legs to eat every day. Sitting across from Bong Joon-hyuk, Cossack knocked Gobang on the head while complaining that the chicken was too spicy. Gobang opened his mouth and mocked him. An assassin is still just an assassin, afraid even of spicy food. You look like an idiot. Just as Bong Joon-hyuk was sighing that these two clearly had no live-in-peace option at all, Gobang suddenly said to him, "You're a good person." Bong Joon-hyuk froze for a moment, and his heart actually grew warm. These chicken legs are nothing compared to your ability. Honestly, I'm the one relying on you. Gobang had just opened his mouth to respond when Cossack kicked him in the face. Bong Joon-hyuk gritted his teeth and cursed, "Why do you keep bullying him?" Cossack looked helpless. "That guy Gobang ate all my chicken legs while I wasn't paying attention." The next day, the three of them came to the 17th floor. Bong Joon-hyuk carefully felt the changes within his body. Reaching the 17th floor meant he had also risen to level 17. Power surged inside him, as if it were about to go out of control. His heart pounded as if reignited. That wild horse was still neighing in his chest. Perhaps it was time for him to truly take the field. But the two powerhouses directly ignored his rising blood. Cossack even kindly reminded him, "From around level 20, a lot of people become arrogant. You must be even more careful after this." Gobang thumped his chest and said he would protect Bong Joon-hyuk. Bong Joon-hyuk could only stay sandwiched behind the two of them, not even daring to show his head. He felt it was better to be steady, and there was no need to risk his life to prove anything. Mission for this floor: defeat 30 goblin warriors. When Bong Joon-hyuk used to watch strategy videos about these goblin warriors, he had not felt much. But the moment he saw them in person, the pressure was almost suffocating. That goblin unit had at least 90 members, and the tactical coordination of these ordinary monsters was unexpectedly proficient. The standard strategy Bong Joon-hyuk had looked up before entering was this: when a goblin warrior unit appeared, first retreat to the safe zone, then return after a while. The enemy forces would disperse into groups of 3 on patrol. To avoid drawing too much aggro, lure out 3 groups at a time and kill them one by one, repeating the cycle until the mission is complete. The strategy was very steady, but extremely time-consuming. But for Bong Joon-hyuk, none of these steps were necessary at all, because standing beside him were 2 monstrous teammates. Bong Joon-hyuk gave Gobang an order: "Go, wipe out the goblins in front, as fast as possible." The instant Gobang received the command, he threw back his head and roared, energy spreading like a wave and even cracking the ground. Bong Joon-hyuk even felt that with Gobang by his side, reaching the 40th floor might not be a problem. Bong Joon-hyuk raised his hand and pointed, ordering Gobang to wipe out all those guys. Gobang paid no attention to formations or tactics. When he saw a goblin, he simply charged over and crushed it to death. The goblin chief became frantic and immediately ordered the whole army to focus fire on Gobang. The next moment, the goblins set up formation. All spears pointed forward, preparing to receive the charging Gobang. But in Bong Joon-hyuk's eyes, those spears looked like toothpicks. They had no chance at all of piercing Gobang's iron body. Gobang merely gave a light shove, and the energy bursting from his body slammed a patch of goblins to death on the spot. Without losing momentum, he crashed toward wherever goblins remained. In just 10 seconds, that goblin army was completely annihilated by Gobang. Bong Joon-hyuk was overjoyed inside. This monster-level combat power was only the lowest tier R rank? He had practically struck gold. Tactics only matter when both sides are close in strength, just like 10,000 bicycles could never ram over a single K2 Black Panther tank. A notification popped up in the status panel. You have cleared the 17th floor of the tower, obtained the highest tier clear rating, and received a platinum badge. Bong Joon-hyuk looked at Gobang as if he were looking at a gold mine. As long as Gobang was around, wouldn't this team have smooth sailing from here on out? When those words reached Cossack's ears, he was inexplicably shaken. His sense of presence was dropping, and in Master's eyes there was only that big blockhead left. Next time, he absolutely had to snatch that presence back. The next day they arrived at the 18th floor, where the mission was to defeat 30 goblin assassins. As far as the eye could see, there were faint shadows everywhere beneath the trees. Bong Joon-hyuk still hid behind Gobang and Cossack. Without saying a word, Gobang charged straight in, moving absurdly fast. These goblin assassins could turn invisible and lurk among the trees. But Gobang did not bother searching. He spread his arms wide, grabbed an entire patch of trees into his embrace, and crushed them by force, killing the goblins hiding inside along with them. But soon he became confused again. He had clearly crushed so many, so how had they suddenly disappeared again? Bong Joon-hyuk stared blankly. Sooner or later, he really would have to find some way to improve that guy's brain. Gobang clawed wildly at empty air and cursed that assassins were all cowards, still not daring to come out and fight. At that moment, Cossack finally made his move, his tone as cold as a blade. Master has endured watching your clumsy performance this whole time and must be very tired. I will cleanse Master's eyes with an elegant clear. The next moment, Cossack's figure also disappeared like an assassin. Compared to him, the goblin's stealth was a joke. In just a few seconds, he dealt with more than a dozen goblins. All of this had been calculated in advance. He had to snatch his presence back in front of Bong Joon-hyuk and could not let that idiot take all of Master's attention. As Cossack harvested enemies, Bong Joon-hyuk's mission progress bar shot upward like crazy. Only then did Bong Joon-hyuk realize Cossack was trying to regain his presence. Because his attention had been on Go-bang earlier, Cossack had gotten jealous. But that suited Bong Joon-hyuk just fine. Competition meant fiercer battles. Because Go-bang had stolen the spotlight and reduced Cossack's time to shine, Cossack's anxiety had only grown heavier. At this moment, the two of them were clearing monsters as if in a contest. Go-bang crushed a whole patch with one slap, while Cossack erased a whole row with one slash. Bong Joon-hyuk only hoped they would work like mad and farm badges to the limit. He planned to use those privileges to arm himself to the extreme step by step. But on second thought, Bong Joon-hyuk was already level 18, and his physical strength should have improved long ago. Maybe he really could join the fight. Bong Joon-hyuk's momentum suddenly erupted. He released the wild horse-like power inside his body and forcibly raised his physical abilities. Before entering the 18th floor, he had read all the strategy information. He was not acting recklessly. He had entered with full preparation. The goblin assassin's stealth level was relatively low, and as long as he concentrated, he could track their movements. For him, it was not difficult. He immediately focused to find a target and told himself in his heart, "Don't be afraid," while repeatedly farming the 15th floor. He had already practiced Shadow Step countless times. Bong Joon-hyuk's speed was absurdly fast, to the point that for a moment his body could not keep up with the commands of his mind. But just at that moment, he rushed right in front of a goblin. Because he stumbled underfoot, his center of gravity shifted, and the weapon in his hand swung wildly out of control. The next instant, his weapon smashed into the goblin's head. Bong Joon-hyuk had not expected it. This goblin was so fragile, it was actually killed outright by a single blow from his staff. And just like that, he somehow completed a kill in a daze. A heat rose in Bong Joon-hyuk's chest. This was the first time he had successfully hunted something with his own hands. But the next second, a strong sense of danger suddenly rose behind him. One goblin had locked onto him. On the other side, Cossack was killing smoothly, having just cut down 9 more in an instant. After Cossack killed 1 more, only 3 remained to complete the mission. At the same time, he saw Go-bang madly pounding the ground. Go-bang lacked the brains and could not detect stealth targets, so all he could do was swing his fists at the ground. If he killed 1, then that counted as 1. And by sheer luck, he actually smashed 3 to death. Cossack cursed furiously at Go-bang. "You idiot, you're in the way. I need to get to Master." But halfway through cursing, he suddenly realized. Where's Master? Where did Master go? The goblin that had ambushed Bong Joon-hyuk slashed down with its blade, but Bong Joon-hyuk's energy shield blocked it. Bong Joon-hyuk immediately activated his skill and retreated dozens of steps in an instant. If not for the shield, something really would have happened to him just now. But the situation was still dangerous. 2 more goblins were moving in to flank him from front and back. But for some reason, Bong Joon-hyuk was unusually calm instead, even a little excited, as if adrenaline had lit his fear directly into fighting spirit. He leaped into the air and forcibly broke out of the encirclement. In his eyes, the sword swings of those 2 goblins were laughably slow. Maybe it was not that they were slow, it was that Bong Joon-hyuk had become faster. He even felt as if the whole world had been slowed down. With a sharp tearing sound, Bong Joon-hyuk slashed out with 1 sword and instantly killed the 2 goblins in 1 clean, neat motion. Not long after, Bong Joon-hyuk cleared the 18th floor, received the highest rating, was awarded a platinum badge, and obtained another platinum badge. After the goblins fell, Cossack also walked over. Bong Joon-hyuk smiled at him. "That strike just now was pretty nice, right? Did you see it?" But those words completely broke Cossack. He dropped to his knees and stared at Bong Joon-hyuk as if he were about to cry. Meanwhile, the Hunter Association also received the 18th floor clear rating notification. The director slapped the table and laughed uncontrollably. "Just as I thought. He wasn't climbing before because he was preparing. He didn't disappoint us." Zhang Guangil smiled too. "Now he's a top-tier hunter, and we need to protect him even more carefully than the elite team." At the same time, Bong Joon-hyuk's story made the news. After more than 20 days of silence, that mysterious hunter had appeared again and pushed continuously to the 18th floor at astonishing speed, setting an unprecedented record. Breaking news. Climbing history is being rewritten. Breaking news. This mysterious hunter is suspected to have already reached level 19. Not just hunters, even the whole country began asking, who exactly was he? Cossack saw all of these reports and let out a long sigh. The thing he feared most had still happened. Bong Joon-hyuk looked baffled. What exactly had happened that made Cossack this tense? He told Cossack to just say what he meant and stop hesitating. Cold sweat appeared at Cossack's temples. Did he remember killing those 2 goblins just now? The speed Bong Joon-hyuk had exploded with was too outrageous. and it was very likely some kind of instinctive talent. Bong Joon-hyuk pointed at himself, his face full of disbelief. Him? What kind of joke was that? He was just a useless socially anxious loser. Where would any talent come from? But Kasik's expression was serious. He was not joking. Bong Joon-hyuk's final shadow step had been so perfect that even Kasik himself could not imitate it, and that was what worried him most. Growth was certainly exciting, but growth also pulled danger upward along with it. The more Kasik spoke, the more urgent he became. You'll start to enjoy fighting, and you'll start to gain confidence, and danger will grow in proportion. Courage is a very dangerous thing. We said it from the beginning. Safety first, survive first, and never push yourself onto a dead-end road. Bong Joon-hyuk nodded. That was what he had always done. He would not take risks, and occasionally killing a small monster was enough. But even though Bong Joon-hyuk said that, Kasik still could not feel at ease. Kasik said his intuition had never been wrong. Someday, our summoner is going to cause huge trouble. Gobang, standing behind them, saw Kasik crying his eyes out and called him pathetic. The next second, Kasik kicked Gobang in the face. Say one more word and I'll throw you into a pot and boil you. Gobang's giant body was flipped over, and the worst part was, Bong Joon-hyuk's refrigerator suffered for it. Bong Joon-hyuk got angry in pain. Don't smash my fridge. Then Bong Joon-hyuk raised his hand and forcibly dismissed both of them. He looked at the kimchi his mother had made, his face full of heartbreak. Rest in peace here. Bong Joon-hyuk's favorite kimchi. I'll rest today, and tomorrow I'll go back to see my parents. Early the next morning, Bong Joon-hyuk returned to that old rundown neighborhood. That was his home. He pushed the door open and shouted, "Mom, Dad, your son is back. Come welcome me." But no one came out to greet him, and his father called from inside for him to just come in. His father told Bong Joon-hyuk to come back more often when he had time. After all, he did not live that far away. From the last fall that had injured his joints, he still had not fully recovered. Bong Joon-hyuk quickly helped his father up. Once little brother gets back with the tofu, we can meet. A few minutes later, a fragrant plate of tofu kimchi was set on the table. While eating, Bong Joon-hyuk casually asked, "Things have been pretty hard at home lately, haven't they?" His mother told him not to worry, that she would find work soon, and that he should focus on living his own life well first. Bong Joon-hyuk felt he should test the waters, so he said, "It'd be nice if I awakened at a time like this." The next moment, his father slammed the table. "Don't tell me you." Halfway through hearing that, Bong Joon-hyuk felt something was wrong. His father seemed to have guessed that he had already awakened. But then his father and younger brother burst out laughing together. "Don't tell me you've been fantasizing that you awakened." Even his younger brother thought he was joking. His mother turned and asked Bong Joon-hyuk, "Why didn't you go to work today?" Bong Joon-hyuk said he had the day off. But that lie could not fool his mother at all. Whenever he lied, it showed plainly on his face. Even so, his mother still chose to believe him. "No matter what you do, just don't go borrowing from loan sharks again." That sentence hit Bong Joon-hyuk's mind like thunder, and he instantly remembered that incident. The 3 debt collectors had died just like that. His mother then complained that work had not been going well recently. One unreasonable customer had asked her to fix a water purifier and also sort the trash and clean the kitchen waste for them. After she talked back, she got fired. His mother was exactly that kind of strong and brave person, unable to stand even a little injustice, and his father's greatest achievement in life was marrying her. His father belonged to the completely weak-willed type, and both sons had taken after him. Not exactly strong, but still stubbornly dragging themselves through life. Bong Joon-hyuk decided to keep his awakening hidden for now and talk properly with the family after the attention died down. Before leaving, he called his younger brother out and stuffed some money into his hand, saying it was for their parents' living expenses and asking him to pass it on. Bong Joon-hyuk turned to leave, but his younger brother called him back. His brother scratched his head awkwardly, and Bong Joon-hyuk guessed it was probably about the tuition issue from before. Bong Joon-hyuk laughed loudly and patted his brother on the shoulder. "I get it. You little punk, you've grown up too." His brother immediately relaxed. "Then I'll just say it straight. Mom has spending money, Dad has spending money, but isn't something missing? What about mine?" Bong Joon-hyuk's smile froze on the spot. "You little punk, I praised you for nothing just now." After dealing with things at home, Bong Joon-hyuk went to the Awakened Management Department in Hanam-dong, Seoul. He had originally wanted to climb the tower however he liked, but after seeing his family, he realized this matter had to be taken seriously. Bong Joon-hyuk remembered that when he left last time, John Gwang-il had told him to contact him in advance next time he went to the shop, but this time he did not plan to trouble the other man. He was only there to buy things, so it should be fine. Right now, he had the golden bracelets barrier, but the higher the floors, the stronger the monsters became. So Bong Joon-hyuk wanted to buy a shield, but the shield in front of him actually cost 100 million won. Bong Joon-hyuk was stunned on the spot. That price was way too outrageous. He flusteredly explained to the clerk, "This one's too heavy, and too expensive too. I can't afford it. Why did it have to be a female clerk? I can't even speak properly, and last time I came I was the only one here, so why are there so many people shopping today? The female clerk then recommended a round hand shield to him instead, made of adaman alloy and satonium alloy, lightweight, and even self-repairing. Bong Joon-hyuk put on the hand shield and found it absurdly light. It was just right, like it had been tailor-made for someone like him. He paid 40 million won on the spot and bought the shield. Bong Joon-hyuk always felt that talking to clerks was harder than fighting goblins. They were too terrifying. But now that he had bought everything, he could go home and prepare to continue storming the tower. A man by the window suddenly spoke to him. "You haven't been awakened for very long, have you?" After saying that, he politely extended his hand in self-introduction. "Nice to meet you, I'm Choi Ho-sok." Bong Joon-hyuk's social anxiety flared up, so he could only briefly exchange names and then chat a little about the tower. Choi Ho-sok said he had already climbed past the 30th floor, and if there was anything Bong Joon-hyuk did not understand, he could ask him. He looked quite friendly. After only a few exchanges, Choi Ho-sok left, and as he went, he even said he was optimistic that Bong Joon-hyuk could climb higher. Bong Joon-hyuk felt very impressed inside. Was this what people with strong social skills were like? That kind of composure was really enviable. That night after returning home, Bong Joon-hyuk summoned Cossack, but the moment Cossack appeared, there was suppressed sadness on his face. He felt that way because he saw that Bong Joon-hyuk had bought new weapons again. In his view, there was no need for Bong Joon-hyuk to buy these things at all. He only needed to stand in the back and watch them clear monsters. Bong Joon-hyuk told Cossack not to worry, that he had bought them only for safety. But Cossack said his previous summoner had said the same thing back then. But that previous summoner had died horribly, acting on his own, surrounded by monsters, and ultimately chopped to death in a rain of blades. Bong Joon-hyuk promised Cossack that he would absolutely never rush to the front and that he would honestly stay hidden behind them. Only after hearing Bong Joon-hyuk's promise did Cossack finally relax somewhat. He even added that if it really came down to a desperate situation, Bong Joon-hyuk should sacrifice him and Meatball to escape, though he felt the better choice would be to sacrifice Meatball and keep him. At that moment, Cossack suddenly smelled a very fragrant scent. It turned out that Bong Joon-hyuk had specially bought dumplings to reward him. Cossack was just about to pick up his chopsticks when his expression suddenly sank, as if he had caught something wrong, and he asked Bong Joon-hyuk whether he had made any enemies recently. Bong Joon-hyuk did not understand. He had been honestly climbing the tower lately, so how could he possibly have made enemies? But Cossack said there was a heavy killing intent outside the door. When Bong Joon-hyuk heard that, his heart tightened violently. The next second, Bong Joon-hyuk and Cossack almost simultaneously activated the energy barrier and hid first to see who had come. The lock on Bong Joon-hyuk's front door was shot clean through by a single bullet. The man outside gave a dark laugh. "I followed you all day and finally found your house. If you know what's good for you, hand over all the equipment on you as tribute to me." The moment Bong Joon-hyuk saw who it was, his expression changed instantly. It was actually Choi Ho-sok, the one he had met at the shop during the day. Bong Joon-hyuk had misjudged him completely. He was not a good person at all, but a robber. Bong Joon-hyuk told Choi Ho-sok to calm down and put the gun down first, and that they could talk things out. But Choi Ho-sok would not listen at all and only urged him to take off the bracelet immediately, or else he would turn his head into a honeycomb. The next second, the gun muzzle was pressed directly against Bong Joon-hyuk's head, yet Bong Joon-hyuk's heart instead turned cold. "You're asking to die." Because Cossack had already silently appeared behind him, his expression so dark it was terrifying. If Bong Joon-hyuk died, Cossack would vanish as well. Cossack would never allow that to happen. There was only one ending. Choi Ho-sok had to die tonight. Choi Ho-sok was still secretly pleased with himself. This guy was indeed easy to bully, and he had chosen the perfect target. At the exact moment Choi Ho-sok was about to pull the trigger, Cossack flashed behind him, and smashed the knife hilt hard into his forehead. With just one strike, Choi Ho-sok fainted on the spot. He lost consciousness and fell stiffly to the ground. Bong Joon-hyuk stared at the scene in disbelief. "Mr. Cossack, you were so steady. You actually just knocked him out and didn't kill him. I was really worried just now that you'd lose control. I'm so touched. Looks like my previous teaching really wasn't wasted." And this guy is probably one of those so-called item dealers. So-called item dealers were the kind who specifically preyed on hunters outside the tower, taking advantage of the fact that they were no different from ordinary people there to kill them and steal their possessions. If Bong Joon-hyuk had not had the trait of being able to activate his power outside the tower, then just now he too would have died directly like other hunters. But the next second, Cossack took out his favorite bow ribbon. "Master, don't worry. I'll help you dispose of him." Bong Joon-hyuk immediately stopped him. "Don't touch him. Leave it to the authorities." Meanwhile, inside the Awakened Management Bureau, John Gwang-il was reporting Bong Joon-hyuk's movements for the day to the director. Hunter Bong Joo-hyuk purchased a small shield at the shop. Judging from his recent equipment choices, we suspect he may be leaning toward close combat. Just then, the phone in John Gwang-il's pocket rang. The caller was actually the police. After answering, he froze on the spot, and the moment he hung up, he immediately rushed toward Bong Joo-hyuk's house. Damn it, what the hell happened? The more he thought about it, the more agitated he became. From the very beginning, Bong Joo-hyuk should have been made to sign the elite agreement. If anything happened to Bong Joo-hyuk, everything would be over. At this moment, 2 police officers had already arrived at Bong Joo-hyuk's house. Even more absurd, that bastard Choi Ho-suk had actually bitten back and falsely accused Bong Joo-hyuk of kidnapping him. In that case, the homeowner will also have to come with us to assist in the investigation. Bong Joo-hyuk panicked instantly. Was he really about to be framed and thrown into prison like this? Just then, John Gwang-il burst onto the scene. Even worse, Choi Ho-suk seemed to know him too. "Captain, it's me. This guy kidnapped me. Save me." Bong Joo-hyuk's heart sank. Were they going to shield a criminal? But just when Choi Ho-suk thought his savior had arrived, John Gwang-il walked up and punched him hard in the face. "You bastard, full of lies. How dare you do something like this? You're already level 34, so why are you still committing robbery? I hereby officially revoke your hunter qualification. The relevant department will be here soon, so just hand him over to them." Choi Ho-suk went weak with fear on the spot and frantically cowed out, begging for mercy. John Gwang-il said coldly, "I've seen plenty of people like you who never learn. Don't expect there to be a next time." And just like that, Choi Ho-suk was mercilessly taken away. John Gwang-il walked up to Bong Joo-hyuk with a grim face. "Were you hurt?" Seeing that oppressive presence, Bong Joo-hyuk answered at once. "No, I was just scared. Hunter Bong Joo-hyuk, I'm truly sorry. I guarantee this kind of thing will not happen again. This cannot be delayed any longer. The elite agreement must be pushed forward as soon as possible." Soon it was the next day. "Master, did that person die in the end yesterday?" "Of course not. He was just taken away by the authorities." "Then can you tell me where he was taken?" Looking at Cossack's tone and the dagger hidden behind his back, Bong Joo-hyuk was instantly speechless. "Don't even think about it. I'm not telling you." Then Bong Joo-hyuk summoned Gobang as well. Black Tower 19th floor mission, kill 30 goblin wizards. The goblin wizards on the 19th floor were not much of a threat, basically incapable of casting any powerful attack magic, at most curses, binds, and weak fire bolts. The curses were indeed troublesome, but as long as there was a tank holding the front line, the difficulty dropped immediately. The goblin wizards released black mist curses at them. But with a single roar, the tank forcefully blasted the curse apart. With a single roar, the tank forcefully blasted the curse apart. Bong Joo-hyuk stared in shock. This was way too crude. Cossack was unwilling to be outdone and rushed up in an instant. Cossack, Gobang, worked together and clear them quickly. As soon as the words fell, the 2 of them charged into the goblin horde at the same time. Cossack weaved through them with agile footwork, and every drop of his blade took a head. Gobang was even simpler. One punch would overturn a whole patch. Bong Joo-hyuk felt his blood boiling as he watched and wanted to go show off a little too. But the status window immediately popped up. 19th floor mission complete. At this moment, Cossack and Gobang were actually whispering to each other off to the side. Noticing Bong Joo-hyuk's gaze, Cossack forced out a nervous smile. "Master, did we do all right?" Bong Joo-hyuk gritted his teeth inwardly. Damn it, these 2 were absolutely doing it on purpose, not even giving me a chance to make a move. Another server-wide announcement was released. Korea Black Tower 19th floor clear record refreshed, rating S++, platinum badge awarded. The next day, they proceeded to the 20th floor of the Black Tower. This floor was called the Talent Evaluation Floor, and its difficulty rating was Extreme Danger. All kinds of goblins would appear, and Cossack reminded Bong Joo-hyuk, "Master, absolutely do not do anything reckless. If it were me, I'd find a safe corner and stay there." Gobang also chimed in, "Master, don't run around, leave it to us." Bong Joo-hyuk could only listen with a speechless face. Mission for this floor, kill any 100 goblins, plus 1 large goblin, time limit 10 hours. Cossack smiled and walked over to Bong Joo-hyuk, blocking him inside the safe zone, as if silently declaring, "You're too weak, it's dangerous outside, so just stay put." Then Cossack strolled out of the safe zone at an unhurried pace, while Gobang had already charged to the very front. Ahead of them, all kinds of goblins appeared and crazily pressed toward them. At the exact moment Cossack was about to make his move, a figure swept past behind him. Bong Joo-hyuk activated Shadow Step, and with high-speed movement caught up to Gobang in the blink of an eye. "Hey, Gobang, you're running a little slow. I'll go ahead first." After saying that, he leaped high into the air. But when he saw the overwhelming attacks covering the front, his whole body instantly froze. He had really overdone it this time. From childhood to adulthood, Bong Joo-hyuk had always been introverted, used to curling up in a corner and playing alone. Even when his toys were snatched right in front of him, he had not dared go forward and take them back. Things got even worse in elementary school. Even when classmates bullied him, he did not make a sound. By middle school, he had become invisible in class. By high school, he did not even have a single friend. He wanted to change, yet never dared take even one step. Even Bong Joon-hyuk himself could hardly believe it, that someone like him would one day charge toward monsters on his own. Maybe it was because monsters were not people, and there was none of that tugging, calculation, and strain that came with human relationships. It was like grinding monsters in a game, defeat them, take the rewards, and that's all. The moment Kasik saw Bong Joon-hyuk charge into the monster pack, he panicked on the spot. "Master, don't throw your life away." A group of goblin warriors swung their weapons and pounced toward Bong Joon-hyuk. Bong Joon-hyuk immediately activated Shadow Step, dodging blow darts among the trees while rapidly closing in on his target, and in just a few moves, he circled behind a goblin. He smashed a punch into the opponent's head, and just like that, Bong Joon-hyuk used Shadow Step to pick off the sneak attackers hiding in the trees one by one. Even Kasa could hardly believe what he was seeing. "Master, Shadow Step has actually become this skilled already?" Just then, dozens of blow darts shot toward Bong Joon-hyuk at the same time. He hurriedly raised his shield to block, but the hand shield was too small to cover every direction. As a result, the energy shield on Bong Joon-hyuk's body was rapidly drained away. The danger of that scene made cold sweat instantly break out over Bong Joon-hyuk. It was terrifying. Kasik, who had just finally relaxed, turned back and saw Bong Joon-hyuk being chased all over the ground by a group of goblin warriors, yelling for help the whole time. "Master, hold on. Run toward the cliff wall." By the time Bong Joon-hyuk's stamina was nearly depleted, he finally rushed to the cliff wall Kasik had mentioned. But there was nothing in front of the cliff wall. He had basically driven himself into a dead corner. Just as the pursuers were about to pounce, a giant hand directly slapped their weapons apart. Gobang arrived just in time and forcibly planted himself in front of Bong Joon-hyuk, then threw a punch that instantly wiped out the goblin warriors in front of him. On the other side, after clearing the scouts, Kasek swiftly charged toward the goblin wizards above the cliff wall. While they were still chanting their spells, Kasek had already reached them. With a single swing of his sword, he directly cut down 2 wizards. After that, he continued pushing forward and clearing the field, and before long, he had dealt with all the monsters in that area. Their kill count had already exceeded 100. Looking at the corpses all over the ground, Bong Joon-hyuk could only sigh. These 2 were way too strong. "Still, Gobang, can you move your body a little farther forward?" Just then, a huge beast-like roar rang out. A giant elite goblin was walking toward them. Kasik saw it and immediately jumped down from the cliff. "Leave this one to me." But Gobang was unwilling to back down and charged at the elite goblin directly. The 2 giant bodies slammed into each other head-on, producing a heavy crashing sound. Gobang reached out and clamped his hand around the elite goblin's neck. Kasik seized the opening and dived down from the air, driving both daggers directly into the monster's eyes. At this point, the Black Tower 19th floor mission was complete. Bong Joon-hyuk leveled up, and the rewards were 2 kilograms of magic crystal and a Black Tower use healing potion. "Master, your fighting just now was really cool." Bong Joon-hyuk told them not to flatter him. He knew clearly what he was worth. Bong Joon-hyuk had seen all of their efforts, and he sincerely thanked them for always protecting him. The announcement was pushed again. Korea Black Tower 20th floor record refreshed. Highest evaluation obtained and platinum badge awarded. This announcement instantly shook the whole world, and the media reported on it everywhere. The internet also exploded. "This is insane. After half a month without any announcements, I thought he had failed, but instead he came back and kept getting top ratings. At this rate he's probably going to keep breaking through even further." At this moment, inside the Awakened Management Association, Director, should we control the media narrative? No need. If we intervene actively, people will only become more suspicious. According to their investigation of Bong Joon-hyuk, his family situation was not good. His father had undergone surgery after an accident and was still recovering. His younger brother was a university freshman, and Bong Joon-hyuk had paid his tuition. His mother had lost her job due to a conflict with a customer, so they believed they could start with family support and offer Bong Joon-hyuk some help. And at this moment, in order to reward Kasik and the others for today's performance, Bong Joon-hyuk specially ordered a lavish takeout feast for them. Looking at the bowls of noodles on the floor, Gobang was practically drooling. "This smells amazing. Eat slower, don't swallow my share too." Bong Joon-hyuk walked to one side and opened the system panel. Because he had accumulated 20 platinum badges, a special reward was triggered, 1 random box, from which 3 items may be obtained at random, types including equipment items, combat skills, upgrade rooms, Black Tower jump tickets, skill cooldown reset tickets, trade enhancement rooms, summit promotion rooms, multi-country Black Tower access tickets, and guaranteed quality summon tickets. Bong Joon-hyuk's scalp tingled as he read it. There were too many terms he did not understand. A black tower jump ticket seemed to let him skip floors directly, but he had no desire to skip. Compared with that, an upgrade room was much more practical. A multi-country black tower access ticket would let him go to another country's tower, but that was meaningless to the current Bong Joon-hyuk too. What he wanted most was the guaranteed quality summon ticket. It could specify a summon of SR, SSR, or LSSR rank, whether a character or an item. If he could pull that, then he could directly summon an LSSR follower and truly coast to victory. 3 chances, maybe I really am lucky. Please, let me live a life without worrying about food and clothes. The random box kept shaking, and Bong Joon-hyuk's anticipation rose higher and higher. The result? He obtained 10 kilograms of magic crystal, the worst possible reward, but at least selling it would still bring in a good amount of money. Bong Joon-hyuk adjusted his breathing and started the second draw. Obtain skill, Primordial Thunderstaff. An attack skill, not bad. Let's open the last one too. Obtain Summon Promotion Rune. This rune can raise the rank of a summon being, with the extent of the promotion depending on the summon's potential. Before the upgrade is complete, that summon cannot be summoned. The moment he saw this last one, Bong Joon-hyuk instantly became excited. This was exactly one of the things he had wanted most. But the problem was, who should he use it on? One was the high-agility assassin Cossack. The other was Gobang, low rank yet absurdly strong as a tank. In comparison, Cossack was more reliable. Besides, he was Bong Joon-hyuk's very first summon. I'll keep Cossack behind later and upgrade him alone. Anyway, with Gobang, we can still clear floors. Then Bong Joon-hyuk checked the other reward, Primordial Thunderstaff, for imbuing a blunt weapon with the power of thunder, with a total of 3 forms, a growth-type skill. Bong Joon-hyuk was very satisfied. It fit his weapon perfectly. He learned it immediately, and the next second, a flood of knowledge and power related to thunder poured into his mind. Since he had learned it, of course he had to test it, immediately. Skill, Soul-Chasing Shock Thunder. But when Bong Joon-hyuk swung his hammer, nothing happened around him. Only then did he remember, skills cannot be activated outside the tower. Cossack behind him looked puzzled. Master, what were you doing just now? Bong Joon-hyuk explained that he had just obtained a growth-type attack skill. After hearing that, Cossack looked like the sky had fallen. Master, you're going farther and farther down the wrong path. Gobang beside them did not care at all and only kept eating with his head down. Cossack took all his anger out on Gobang. This is all your fault. All you do is eat. You don't even keep an eye on Master. Seeing that the two were about to start fighting in the room again, Bong Joon-hyuk directly dismissed them. Bong Joon-hyuk understood what worried Cossack. A summoner's combat power was originally supposed to be carried mostly by the summons. If the summoner's combat power was 10, and the summon's combat power was 100, then the total combat power would be 110. The higher the total combat power, the steadier and safer climbing the tower would be. It was said that in a parallel universe, there had once been a summoner with the same trait as Bong Joon-hyuk who had summoned Cossack first. That person must have been stronger than Bong Joon-hyuk. Yet even so, that person still died in battle, and the world was destroyed along with him. Seen from that angle, Cossack's worries were not unnecessary. But Bong Joon-hyuk also wanted to experience what it felt like to be able to fight himself. So he wanted to try the new skill. As long as he did not act recklessly, Cossack and the others would obey orders anyway. Come forth, my summons. But the moment Cossack was summoned again, his state was obviously wrong. Master, attack skills can sometimes become poison. To be honest, I was already very uneasy back on the 20th floor. Luckily the opponents were only goblins, so I could still handle it, but orcs are absolutely different. I apologize to you in advance. I am about to commit an unforgivable mistake. According to the third clause of the Summon Being's 3 principles, when the first and second conflict, I will prioritize the first. The next second, Gobang suddenly flashed behind Bong Joon-hyuk and restrained him tightly. Cossack exploded in anger on the spot. You idiot. How many times have I told you to act after entering the tower? What's the point of grabbing Master now? Once we're inside the tower, the tank will protect you at close range. I'll be responsible for killing the monsters. This was absolutely not the result Bong Joon-hyuk wanted. Don't do this, just spare me this once. From now on I'll behave. I swear it on everything. I absolutely won't let myself fall into danger alone. I'll only fight one monster, that's all, and I'll be as careful as humanly possible. After Bong Joon-hyuk begged repeatedly, Cossack finally relented. But there was only one condition. Safety had to be guaranteed. Otherwise, Cossack would carry out his own plan. The scene shifted, and they arrived at Korea's Black Tower 21st floor. The orcs were physically strong but slow-witted. Of course, they were definitely smarter than Gobang, so caution was still necessary. Before setting out, Bong Joon-hyuk wanted to test his new skill first. Cossack said of course that was fine. He would even let Bong Joon-hyuk test it 100 times if he wanted. There are training dummies over here. You can hit them however you like. Unexpectedly, Go Bang nodded in agreement too, even willing to let Bong Joon-hyuk use him as a punching bag. But Bong Joon-hyuk did not want to waste the skill on the tank. Rather than hit Go Bang, it was better to go hit an orc directly. 21st floor mission, kill 30 forest orcs within 4 hours. Facing the orcs, Cossack and Go Bang charged up first. Heavy as he was, Go Bang somehow flashed forward and seized the very front. And with one heavy punch, he killed several orcs on the spot. Cossack also refused to fall behind. With one flash of blade light, several orcs dropped in succession. Bong Joon-hyuk was dumbstruck. At this rate, the fight would be over before he could even make a move. Cossack suddenly jumped into the middle of the beastmen, and peeled one orc out from the main force and isolated it. Bong Joon-hyuk immediately understood. Cossack was creating an opportunity for him. He instantly activated Shadow Step and charged toward that orc. Cossack flashed backward, and Bong Joon-hyuk instantly moved in to fill the gap. Using the movement of Shadow Step, at the exact moment the orc swung, he leaped high into the air. Then he unleashed the first form of Primordial Thunder, soul-chasing Shock Thunder. It was only a simple vertical smash, but the power was anything but simple. With just one hammer blow, Bong Joon-hyuk completed the first kill of his life. The feeling of battle is incredible. So the monsters in the tower aren't as terrifying as I thought. Bong Joon-hyuk got carried away and turned to charge at another orc. But the next second, a giant foot came down and crushed that orc flat. The moment Bong Joon-hyuk met the eyes of the two of them, he immediately felt guilty. We agreed one means one. I won't act recklessly. With that, the mission was complete. Korea Black Tower 21st floor record refreshed, highest evaluation obtained, and platinum badge awarded. And so, after making that agreement with Cossack, Bong Joon-hyuk cleared one floor a day, allowing himself to kill only one monster each time. Soon, they had also finished the Lava Orc mission on the 24th floor. Bong Joon-hyuk gradually became addicted to fighting and even started looking forward to the monsters on the 25th floor tomorrow. Unfortunately, he could only kill one each time. Thinking that he still had an unused summon promotion room, Bong Joon-hyuk immediately summoned Cossack. Master, I am happy to serve you, but isn't today a rest day? I picked something up on the way, and it feels like something you could use, so I'm giving it to you. Saying that, Bong Joon-hyuk tossed the summon promotion rune to him. Cossack looked at the rune in his hand as if he could not believe his own eyes. Am I dreaming? Is this really for me? How could someone like me deserve such a precious gift? With this, I'll be able to protect Master even better. Then aren't you going to use it right now? I want to, but using it hastily right now would be dangerous. I'll use it after I go back. Next time I come out, you'll see a brand new me. You're leaving already? Since you're here, why not watch some TV first? Since Master says so, then I'll watch for a bit. Bong Joon-hyuk had nothing to do either, so he simply lay down and watched with him for a while. But the next second, what appeared on the TV instantly stunned Bong Joon-hyuk. The person on the news was actually his mother. What's going on? Why is Mom on the news? In the footage, his mother was holding a sign and protesting in front of a company building, opposing unfair contract termination, demanding better treatment for water purifier service workers, stopping the company's abuse of power, and calling for supervision. His mother had decided she would not stay silent anymore. She had merely been complained about because, while installing a water purifier for a customer, she had not helped take out their trash. To appease the customer, the company had demanded that she apologize. She refused that humiliation, and as a result received a contract termination notice. She had protested alone for more than 10 days, only to receive mockery from company executives in return. The next time you dare laugh at her, I'll send all of you flying. Just then, a man walked into the frame. Hello, ma'am. Thank you for your work. I'm attorney Lee Chong-suk from Park Kim Law Firm. The moment his mother heard the lawyer identify himself, her expression changed on the spot. The company is suing me? Or trying some other trick? Tell them to come at me. I won't back down. You misunderstand. My purpose in coming is the exact opposite. We are preparing to sue that company. Park Kim was the most famous law firm in Korea, and they were actually willing to defend his mother for free. But his mother looked at Lee Chong-suk as if he were a con artist, and Lee Chong-suk looked helpless. He explained that this was part of the firm's public interest program, and that every year they provided legal aid to vulnerable groups. It still sounded suspicious, but he did not seem to be lying. In the end, his mother agreed to let him handle the case. In that case, let's start with the media work first. As soon as those words fell, a large crowd of reporters immediately surrounded his mother, interviewing and photographing her frantically. Watching the scene, Bong Joon-hyuk felt a heaviness in his heart. His mother was standing alone in front of the cameras, and he, her son, was not there. He suddenly felt useless. At a time like this, shouldn't family support one another? But what made it even more suspicious was this: How exactly had his mother contacted Park Kim? A firm of that level was not one ordinary people could hire. At that moment, Cossack suggested that he go investigate. Bong Joon-hyuk immediately rejected it. Let Cossack investigate? If he ended up doing another Bao-ribbon stunt, that would be the end of it. Just as Bong Joon-hyuk was thinking about how to give his mother financial help, his father suddenly called, telling Bong Joon-hyuk not to worry about his mother. The top lawyer was free. Also, the hospital had called that morning too. Ilsung Hospital's orthopedic department was running a post-hip surgery rehabilitation program, and his father had happened to be selected and would be able to be hospitalized for treatment in a few days. After hanging up, Bong Joon-hyuk grew even more suspicious. He called his younger brother and asked if he knew why. Not only did he fail to get an answer, he unexpectedly learned. His younger brother had received a scholarship, enough to cover both tuition and a laptop, and that scholarship had come from the Awaken Management Association. It was too much of a coincidence. All the good things were landing on his family one after another as if lined up. This was probably not a coincidence at all, but the work of the Awaken Management Association. To confirm his suspicion, Bong Joon-hyuk arranged to meet team leader John Gwang-il. Just say it plainly. What happened with my family? Was that your doing? It was a necessary measure. If your family problems aren't resolved, it will definitely affect your progress in conquering the Black Tower. But shouldn't this kind of care only be available under the Elite Agreement? What I signed was clearly the standard agreement. The moment Bong Joon-hyuk finished speaking, John Gwang-il suddenly slammed the table and stood up. He directly took out that agreement and placed it in front of Bong Joon-hyuk. Then sign it now, the ultimate elite agreement. Bong Joon-hyuk was forced into awkwardness. Why insist on choosing me? There are plenty of hunters stronger than me. What am I? John Gwang-il immediately stood up, his tone pressed low and heavy. Hunter Bong Joon-hyuk, you underestimate yourself far too much. You are creating history, and history unlike anything ever seen before. But Bong Joon-hyuk knew very well, this was not his achievement, only his luck in summoning Cossack and Gobang. Without them, he was nothing. John Gwang-il bent forward and earnestly asked Bong Joon-hyuk to sign. Only if he signed could they legally assign people to protect Bong Joon-hyuk closely and prevent another item dealer incident like the one the other day. But Bong Joon-hyuk did not want to attract too much attention. Once he became conspicuous, Cossack and Gobang would be exposed sooner or later, and he would be dragged into even bigger trouble. John Gwang-il saw through his concern. Media interviews can be handled according to your own wishes. Security can also be kept as low profile as possible according to your requirements. You can live your life as usual, and close protection will only be arranged when you go out. Even your family can be assigned bodyguards. As long as you sign the agreement, we'll immediately provide 2 luxury homes, one for your family, and one for you to live in alone. The terms were far too tempting, and Bong Joon-hyuk's heart pounded violently. He picked up the pen, preparing to sign the ultimate elite agreement. But just before writing, he suddenly thought he should first hear his teammates' opinions. The next day arrived, and Bong Joon-hyuk summoned the advanced Cossack. Light burst outward, so dazzling that Bong Joon-hyuk could not open his eyes. Cossack's rank had advanced from SR to SSR. After the dazzling glow faded, Cossack returned to his original appearance. Why didn't you summon Gobang too? Because before we climb the tower, I have something I want to discuss with you. Bong Joon-hyuk told Cossack about the Awakened Management Association and the Ultimate Elite Agreement. Cossack agreed to sign on the spot. This is the treatment deserved by a hunter with national-level strength. But if I sign, then I'll have to climb to the 60th floor or even higher. That's completely unknown danger. Please don't worry. Leave the danger to us. We'll guarantee your safety and send you to the pinnacle. Even so, I'd still have to train even harder. The moment Bong Joon-hyuk said that, Cossack rejected it immediately. No, absolutely not. As long as Master is safe, that is enough. In that room where he had stayed before being summoned, there existed many legendary-level powerhouses. There were even demigod-level monsters, beings far beyond humans like them. As long as Bong Joon-hyuk stayed alive, one day he would be able to summon them. Cossack said, when that day comes, let alone the 60th floor, the 70th and 100th floors won't be a problem either. Bong Joon-hyuk felt his scalp go numb listening to that. What kind of monsters would those be? But from a realistic perspective, there was no way he could summon beings of that rank right now. Yes, but don't worry. As your level rises, you'll gain more summoner abilities. As long as you stay alive and complete hidden missions, someday you'll succeed. Bong Joon-hyuk's random summon had a 1-month cooldown, meaning at most 12 summons a year. There were still 19 days left before the cooldown ended. At that moment, Cossack made a request. The clearing of uncleared floors should be left to a summons. That is what maximizes Master's safety. In short, accepting the association's support really was a good thing. After all, outside the tower, they could not protect Bong Joon-hyuk at all times. After talking, Bong Joon-hyuk summoned Gobang too. Master, I'm happy to serve you. At that moment, Cossack behind him said coldly, "You don't even greet me now?" A warrior does not casually greet just anyone. Does just anyone include me? I'm SSR now. I'm now 2 ranks above you. You, the lowest rank one, should correct your attitude, understand? Gobang was so pressured by Cossack's presence that he did not dare meet his eyes. Watching this, Bong Juhyok silently made up his mind. The next time he got a promotion room, he would definitely use it on Gobang first. He could not let this big fool keep getting bullied forever. The scene shifted, and they had already arrived at the 25th floor of the Black Tower. Mission: defeat 100 normal orcs, plus 1 powerful orc chieftain. Cossack and Gobang immediately stood in front of Bong Juhyok, while Bong Juhyok was thinking to himself, when the chaos starts later, he would grab a lone one and deal with it himself. This is my first battle after advancing to SSR, let them see my strength now. Gobang, you go first. Warm us up. The moment Gobang heard that, he charged out at once, raised his fist, and leaped high into the air. The orcs below all froze when they saw it. The next second, Gobang's fist smashed the ground open, and the shockwave exploded outward, sending the surrounding orcs flying in groups. Good. Next, it's my turn to take the stage. Cossack activated Shadow Step and instantly cut into the orc pack. He was moving so fast that the air shrieked, making Bong Juhyok's eardrums go numb. Cossack flicked his arm, and dozens of flying blades shot out like a storm. Every single one precisely pierced an orc's vital point. Skill: Blade Burst. The explosive flares burst in chains through the air, blooming like fireworks. Bong Juhyok watched in a daze. Those explosions were vicious enough that even nearby orcs were torn apart by the aftershock. Just then, a group of orcs holding spears launched a sneak attack from behind Cossack, and for a moment it looked as though they had turned him into a pincushion. But in the next second, Cossack dissolved into smoke. Skill: Despicable Ambush. Immediately after, Cossack appeared behind the orcs. 1 sword per target, and in an instant he severed all their heads. Cossack was immersed in the pleasure of his increased strength, while the remaining orcs had been brutalized into trembling, and seeing their tribesmen slaughtered, they did not even dare move. Why are you all making those faces? Hurry up and fight me. Let me enjoy the hunt a little longer. Watching this, Bong Juhyok's heart sank. If this dragged on, he would not even get his 1 monster share. He immediately activated Shadow Step and charged toward the remaining orcs. Cossack was right. A summoner's safety is itself a form of power. But Bong Juhyok also wanted to grow stronger as quickly as possible, until everyone who worried about him could truly be at ease. He locked onto a lone orc and swiftly closed in. He could not rely on Cossack forever. Before climbing to even higher floors, he had to temper himself too. The orc swung its sword down, but Bong Juhyok tapped the ground with his toe, his body sliding sideways like a shadow, then kicked the orc hard in the waist, directly knocking it to the ground. The orc got back up, but could not find Bong Juhyok's position anywhere. Skill: Primordial Thunder. First form: Falling Thunder Soul Chaser. His heavy hammer came down and directly crushed the orc's skull. 1-hit kill. But the nearby orcs also noticed Bong Juhyok and immediately rushed toward him. Bong Juhyok instead became even calmer, cutting into the battlefield with Shadow Step, knocking them down one by one with his hammer. System prompt: Primordial Thunder Second Form Scattering Thunderfall has been unlocked. Bong Juhyok's heart pounded wildly. He had unlocked the area attack form this quickly. More orcs were charging in from afar, so Bong Juhyok simply used them to test the new move. Skill: Primordial Thunder Second Form Scattering Thunderfall. The thunder split into 5 bolts, simultaneously locking onto different targets and delivering an area strike. The more Bong Juhyok fought, the more excited he became. This skill suited him perfectly. But he was far too conspicuous, and Cossack in the distance noticed him immediately. The moment Cossack saw Bong Juhyok entangled with a group of orcs, his eyes nearly popped out in fright. "Master, don't do anything reckless." He flashed to Bong Juhyok's side in an instant and forcibly blocked the incoming attacks. "Don't get carried away just because you unlocked a new skill, and you promised me only 1 kill per floor." Bong Juhyok could only force himself to apologize. But the next second, a rebellious thought rose again in his mind. Why should I apologize to a summon? Why should I listen to Cossack? I may look weak, but in this tower, I can grow stronger too. If he did not believe it, then let the orc chieftain come out and duel him. He would smash its head apart with a single hammer. Before the words had even fully faded, a tall orc chieftain suddenly appeared behind Bong Juhyok, swinging its giant axe down at him. Bong Juhyok was so frightened that his hand loosened and his weapon fell straight to the ground. Luckily, Cossack yanked him away at once, narrowly avoiding the strike. Bong Juhyok's heartbeat went out of control. Sure enough, at the beginning he still had to listen to Cossack. He pointed at the chief and gritted out the order. "Kill it immediately for me." Cossack and Gobang were instantly excited. "Leave it to us." The two of them charged at once. Gobang confronted it head-on, while Cossack cut in from the flank. Gobang compressed his strength into his palm, and caught the descending giant axe with one hand. With a tightening of his 5 fingers, he crushed the axe blade out of shape by sheer force. Before the orc chieftain could even react, Gobang raised both fists, leaped up, and smashed down. The terrifying impact directly crippled its arm. Cossack seized the opening, used Shadow Step to teleport behind it. Several flashes of swordlight passed, and its head was chopped into fragments. 25th floor mission complete, record refreshed, platinum badge obtained, and S++ rating awarded. With a total of 25 platinum badges accumulated, a special reward was triggered. Selectable rewards, attribute enhancement, skill copy, random item, summon promotion. Seeing the options, Bong Joo-hyuk chose attribute enhancement without hesitation. Name, Bong Joo-hyuk. Affiliation, Korea. Black Tower level, 26. Trait, summoning, can simultaneously summon 3. Directory, John Cossack, Savage Warrior Gobang. Trait skills, designated summon, random summon. Combat skills, Shadow Step, Primordial Thunder. Seeing can simultaneously summon 3, Bong Joo-hyuk was very satisfied. That meant that with himself included, it would make a 4-man party. There were still 18 days left on the random summon cooldown, and he had already started looking forward to who the 3rd companion would be. After returning home, Cossack and the tank were both so hungry their stomachs were growling. Can we have tegbaki this time? Bong Joo-hyuk froze. I thought you couldn't eat spicy food. That was before. Now I've evolved into SSR. That little bit of spice is nothing. You sure? Then good luck. So Bong Joo-hyuk directly ordered several portions of absurdly spicy tegbaki. Gobang did not care at all and simply opened his mouth and swallowed it. But Cossack clearly backed off. After just one bite, he was burning up as if he were breathing fire. Gobang immediately piled on. The assassin is about to die from spiciness. Let's abandon him and find a replacement. Now that he had pushed this far, Bong Joo-hyuk felt it was about time to let his family know the truth. The next day, he bought premium beef and went home. Seeing Bong Joo-hyuk suddenly buy something so expensive, the whole family froze. Bong Joo-hyuk simply told them about his awakening. He was now a hunter. But no one in the family believed him, taking it all as a joke. That was until Bong Joo-hyuk called the Awakened Management Association right in front of them. The next day, John Gwang-il drove them to their new home. It was the house given after signing the elite agreement. This place is absolutely amazing. In order to let his family live better, Bong Joo-hyuk officially signed the ultimate elite agreement. Not long ago, he had still resisted all of this. But he also understood, the greatest regret in life is personally giving up on your own wishes. I'm very sorry, but the first-year salary system for elite hunters has already been set, so we can only offer you an annual salary of 2 billion won. In fact, you deserve even more. Bong Joo-hyuk said it was fine. He was already very satisfied. He only hoped that the association could protect his and his family's privacy. They absolutely could not be exposed in the spotlight. John Gwang-il said there was no problem. If you have any other requests, just say them. Bong Joo-hyuk immediately said no, this was already enough. Now Bong Joo-hyuk and his family were both very satisfied, and asking for more would be too greedy. At the same time, Bong Joo-hyuk's personal apartment had already been prepared. The furniture was all in place, ready to move into at any time. Looking at the photos on the tablet, Bong Joo-hyuk was so excited he felt numb. It matched his imagination perfectly. At this moment, in the largest penthouse apartment in Seoul, 2 women were playing in the swimming pool. The real owner was the man behind them. Yoo Chil-min, the #1 ranked hunter in Korea. Trait, all-weapon warrior, top-tier weapon proficiency, master of area skills, finishing moves, and ultimate techniques, currently conquering the 66th floor of Korea's Black Tower. This drink costs 5 million won per glass. That is the taste of money. By the way, I've always been curious who that hunter is who got consecutive S++ ratings for 20 floors. Brother, you're a top hunter, so you should know, right? The whole country is talking about this now. Yoo Jio-min snorted in disdain. What is 25 floors? I'm not interested in low-floor hunters. Oh, stop pretending. The S++ record is the first in the world. A person like that appeared in our country, and you're not curious? What answered her was Yoo Jio-min's roar. Shut up, don't mention it again. Listen carefully, you idiot. If I stop my 66th floor conquest right now, do you know what will happen? Just like this drink. Korea's Black Tower will completely collapse. Want to try it? Because of you, this country will fall into despair. After driving the 2 girls away, he stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, his expression dark to the extreme. All those people do all day is shout about S++, to the point that even ordinary people are joining in the noise. Last month China contacted me, offering an annual salary of 180 billion won, plus a luxury home and private jet, with full national-level treatment. Japan was even more outrageous. 200 billion won a year, top-tier luxury housing, lavish enjoyment, and even professional maids. I clearly chose to stay in Korea and have been desperately fighting the 66th floor for months. And now everyone only talks about some brat who just passed the 25th floor. What an ungrateful bunch. Maybe I should just switch sides. But even if he kept going, there was no guarantee that the 66th floor could be cleared. The 60th floor was the dividing line, and the undead monsters that appeared on the 66th floor were chilling just from their forms alone. Physical attacks were ineffective, and only elemental attacks worked. Even more terrifying, their attacks carried demonic energy. Once it invaded, a hunter's mind would be torn apart. That pain could only be understood by those who had gone through it. Items capable of resisting demonic energy inside the tower were extremely rare, and because of that, they had already lost far too many companions on that floor. Right now, conquering the 66th floor was almost impossible, but if he really switched sides, the reputation he had built for years would completely collapse as well. Half of the time limit for clearing Korea's 66th floor has already passed. In another 3 months, the countdown to the Black Tower's collapse will begin. The only hope is probably me. But it's already too late. By then, I most likely won't even be here anymore. Even if destruction comes, don't regret it, and don't despair. Farewell, you ungrateful bastards. Meanwhile, on the other side, Bong Joon-hyuk had already moved into the luxurious apartment of his dreams. This was a hunter-exclusive residential zone, staffed with personnel to handle all the trivial matters of daily life. Bong Joon-hyuk came back to his room carrying fried chicken, in a very good mood, because he had just cleared the 26th floor of the Black Tower. He had successfully killed 20 swamp orcs. This was a floor universally recognized online as extremely difficult. Classic, Mr. Gobang. Let's eat fried chicken to celebrate. But unexpectedly, they did not hear a word Bong Joon-hyuk was saying. All their attention had been sucked into the TV. What are you watching? So focused. The TV was showing the sexy dance of a wildly popular girl group. The impact of the 100-inch giant screen was absurdly intense. So the three of them ate fried chicken while watching the dance. Next, they would continue pushing forward until they reached the 29th floor. Hearing that, Cossack frowned and asked, "Why stop at the 29th floor?" Because Bong Joon-hyuk planned to wait until the random summon cooldown ended before challenging the 30th floor. That way, they could form a four-man team, with greater room for error and more stability. Cossack pretended on the surface to be looking forward to it. But inside, he was conflicted. If an LSSR follower got summoned, his chief position would be in danger. But for master safety, stronger companions were absolutely necessary. Gobang had none of these worries. He grew excited instead when he heard a new companion might be coming. The next day, John Guangil brought the equipment Bong Joon-hyuk needed. Volcano Orc leather armor. The lingering aura of flame on it could resist severe cold and freezing energy. Thank you so much. I'll return it immediately after using it. With a flash of light, Bong Joon-hyuk began today's Black Tower raid. The Black Tower's 27th floor was famous for extreme cold. But after putting on the cold-resistant leather armor, Bong Joon-hyuk could barely feel the chill. Gobang was thick-skinned and rough-bodied, so he was similarly unaffected. As for Cossack, he was shivering from the cold, yet still stubbornly said, "This little bit of cold, I can hold off with magic power." "You really look okay?" "Of course I'm fine. If you don't believe me, just watch." After saying that, Cossack activated Shadow Step and rushed quickly forward. "Let's clear this quickly and go back early." The two of them watched in silence for a moment. What a stubborn assassin. Then the two of them also sped up and followed. But the next second, the system window popped up. "No way, it's already over? Everything is for Master." This reward was very special. Obtained the Holy Sword of the Captain of the Holy Kingdom's Paladin Order. Bong Joon-hyuk's eyes lit up. Finally, equipment had dropped. But after seeing the appearance clearly, he instantly felt a little disappointed. The sword looked way too shabby. He casually tossed the Holy Sword into his inventory. Tower exclusive. Holy Sword of the Captain of the Holy Kingdom's Paladin Order. Increased attack power when fighting undead. Grants Holy Flame effect. Strengthens will and raises critical hit rate. Insufficient durability. Requires repair after use. Trait. The user's sword and body emit a faint glow. Then Bong Joon-hyuk asked the two summons whether either of them wanted to use it. Gobang believed only in his own fists and did not consider it at all. Cossack did not need it either. He had long since prepared equipment more suitable for himself. The attitudes of those two made Bong Joon-hyuk feel even more depressed. What exactly was he supposed to do with this broken sword? He decided to use it himself for a few days first, and if it was really bad, he would sell it. Thinking that, Bong Joon-hyuk raised the Holy Sword, and repeatedly practiced slashing with it in the room. After only 2 swings, he was already so tired he was gasping for breath. Yet Cossack beside him praised him in all seriousness, as expected of Master, too strong. After all, this was outside the tower, where physical abilities were heavily restricted. Exhausted, Bong Joon-hyuk casually asked, "Is there no way to remove this restriction?" Unexpectedly, Cossack said there really was a way. If countless towers across Earth collapsed at the same time, the real world would become a space like the tower. At that point, the outside world and the tower would no longer have a boundary, and the shackles on Hunter's abilities would also be released. But that would also mean the world was heading toward destruction. At this moment, inside the Japanese embassy in Seoul, a man received an important notice. He had to secretly escort a hunter to Japan. It seems this world is about to change. 2 days passed quickly. Ever since hearing Cossack mention signs of the world's destruction, Bong Joon-hyuk had remained uneasy. But high-floor challenges could only be entrusted to hunters on Yu Cheo-min's level. No matter how worried he was, he could not change anything. All he could do was keep climbing at his own pace. Yesterday's 28th floor had been extremely troublesome, because the jungle trolls stood atop giant trees and attacked from long range. Fortunately, with one savage charge, Gobang directly knocked both the trolls and the trees down together. Before they even hit the ground, Cossack finished them off with a single sword strike. And today's target was the 29th floor. The reason Bong Joon-hyuk wore a gas mask was that the 29th floor featured plague trolls. Yellow pus and bodily fluids oozed all over their bodies as they wandered around, and many hunters became infected with disease because of them. After making all preparations, Bong Joon-hyuk summoned Cossack and Gobang. Mission for this floor: kill 20 plague trolls within 4 hours. By the way, don't you two need masks? A warrior won't be brought down by something like this. I don't need one either. Wearing it would just affect my fighting. But I still thank Master for his concern. After saying that, the two of them immediately rushed forward. Thanks to these two warriors who were completely unafraid of infection, their monster clearing speed was even faster than on the previous floor. "Master, when are we eating today?" "Sorry, probably not today." At the exact moment a bad feeling rose in Cossack's heart. Bong Joon-hyuk directly dismissed the summons. "Feel free to curse me, but my new home matters more. The plague pus will dirty the apartment, and Gobang is huge, so it would definitely get everywhere. How could we all go back together then? I hope you understand." The next day, inside the gym of the Awakened Management Association, a young woman was training desperately. Name: Nam-gun, Korea's number 2 ranked hunter. Job trait: swordsman. Current progress: challenging Korea's Black Tower 62nd floor. The monster on the 62nd floor was the Dark Zombie, and the dark aura it released would corrode hunters during battle, gradually causing them to fall. Nam-gun could not find a way to break through it. Could the 62nd floor really be my limit? Even if that's true, as long as I'm still a top hunter, I have to keep training until my body gives out. Thinking that, she directly chugged an entire bottle of milk. At times like this, you have to replenish protein and build your body up. Just then, she saw a group of staff running hurriedly down the corridor, and immediately called out to Lee Min-ah at the back. "Why are you all running in such a hurry? What happened? Didn't you see the news? That bastard Yu Cheo-min betrayed us. Korea's Awakened Management Bureau only cares about politics and neglects the management of elite teams. Korea's future has already gone dark. Therefore, I, Yu Cheo-min, have decided to leave Korea, join Japan's team, and continue conquering the Black Tower." When Bong Joon-hyuk saw the news, his whole body froze. If even Korea's number 1 hunter had left, then who was left to hold back the Black Tower? That was why John Gwang-il had urgently called Bong Joon-hyuk over and insisted that he answer one question seriously. "At your current speed, how long would it take you to reach the 60th floor?" Bong Joon-hyuk had long known that after signing the agreement, sooner or later he would be asked this, but he had not expected it to come so soon. He was now on the 29th floor, assuming 1 floor a day. Even reaching the 66th floor would still take 37 days. With about 90 days left on the 66th floor time limit, it looked doable on the surface, but the risk was far too great. With that in mind, Bong Joon-hyuk said, "It's hard to guarantee within 90 days. If I run into a high difficulty floor, I would prepare at least 10 days before going in, and the contract clearly states that the pace of climbing is up to me. I'm sorry, and I know this is hard for you too, but I could only ask while holding on to my final sliver of hope." Looking at the obvious disappointment in John Gwang-il's eyes, Bong Joon-hyuk's heart began to waver. "No, without 100% certainty, I can't make promises casually." Just then, the second-ranked Nam-gun rushed in. "I heard the US is willing to lend us light attribute equipment. Is that true?" "There's no confirmed news yet. Right now, light attribute equipment is extremely rare worldwide." Only then did Nam-gun notice Bong Joon-hyuk in the room. The moment her gaze swept over him, Bong Joon-hyuk became so nervous his face turned hot. "Hello, I just came to sell something. And just so happens, I got a piece of light attribute equipment not long ago. Would you like to take a look?" Nam-gun froze after hearing that, then reached out to inspect the Holy Sword's attributes. The moment she saw the attributes clearly, Nam-gun was stunned. She had never even heard of effects like these. So overwhelmed that she lost control, she hugged Bong Joon-hyuk directly. Can you lend it to me just once? Just once is enough. I'm begging you, I'll do anything you want. Really? Anything? The scene suddenly shifted, and the two of them were directly walking into a wedding hall, and had even taken leave to go on a honeymoon by the sea. Gun, shouldn't we make a honeymoon baby? What name do you want to give our future child? A name? Let's call them Holy Sword. Holy Sword? What kind of ridiculous name is that? Hunter Bong Joon-hyuk, are you listening? I'm talking about the Holy Sword. The next second, Bong Joon-hyuk suddenly snapped back out of his fantasy. There it is again. When I start daydreaming, I can't tell reality from dreams. Bong Joon-hyuk, are you really willing to lend me the Holy Sword? Of course, take it and use it, then tell me how effective it really is afterward. And so, Nam-gung changed into the equipment and prepared to immediately challenge the Black Tower's 62nd floor. After saying a few brief words, she disappeared from in front of them. But Bong Joon-hyuk was thinking, could this old antique really be that valuable? If that were true, then wouldn't he be rich? Black Tower 62nd floor mission. Killed 20 dark zombies within 15 hours. These things should never have existed in the world in the first place. They had long since died, yet they were still moving. No matter how many times she had seen them, when Nam-gun faced them again, her scalp still tingled. She immediately activated that layer of white light from the Holy Sword. But seeing the light, Nam-gun instead felt a little disappointed. Could this really work? The light attribute items she had seen before all shone more brightly than this. But just then, a dark zombie had already raised its claws and pounced to kill. There was no way back. She could only fight head-on. A true warrior is someone who faces powerful enemies directly, not someone who turns and runs. The next second, the Holy Sword collided head-on with the zombie's claws. Immediately after, terrifying dark energy began to spread. The moment Nam-gun touched the dark energy, her body instantly became heavy as if pinned down. At the same time, the monster's claws attacked again, right at the edge of despair. The Holy Sword's strengthen will effect activated. In the next instant, a dazzling light burst forth. The light emitted by the Holy Sword forcefully blocked the dark zombie's assault. Nam-gung seized the opening and cut off its arm with one strike. The Holy Sword landed a critical hit on the dark zombie. Nam-gun had not expected the effect to be this strong. The suppression from the dark energy disappeared directly, and nearly every one of her attacks triggered critical damage. She could hardly believe it herself. She really could do it. Meanwhile, outside, John Guang-il waited anxiously. It had already been more than 2 hours since she entered the 62nd floor. Normally, by this point, Nam-gun should already have failed and withdrawn, so what exactly had happened this time? Just then, Nam-gun finally returned. The moment she came back, she immediately took off her heavy armor and then downed a bottle of healing potion. John Guang-il, however, was full of doubt. No way, right? Even if she cleared it, it should not have been this fast. After recovering, Nam-gun walked straight toward Bong Joon-hyuk. So, was my sword useful? But unexpectedly, she did not say a word and threw herself directly into Bong Joon-hyuk's arms. This sudden hug caught Bong Joon-hyuk completely off guard, and his face instantly burned red. Are girls these days all this direct? If she doesn't let go soon, I'm going to burn myself alive. Thank you. Without your holy sword, I definitely would have failed. Yes, I cleared the 62nd floor of the Black Tower. As long as I have this holy sword, I feel like I can fight all the way to the 66th floor. When John Guang-il heard that, he was so excited he could barely stand steady. Thank goodness Bong Joon-hyuk didn't bring out the holy sword earlier. If Yu Cheol-min had casually taken it to Japan, we really would have been finished. He understood the man before him less and less. The S++ record, this absurd equipment. Could one person really do all of this? This sword is extremely useful, but the blade is already damaged in many places. That's not difficult. The Hunter Shop Workshop has many top-tier craftsmen. If we ask them to repair it, it should still be usable for a long time. Nam-gung's eyes lit up when she heard that. But Bong Joon-hyuk's first reaction was, would the repair cost be outrageously expensive? Don't worry about the cost. The association will cover it. Then are you planning to buy my sword? I suggest you don't sell it. You will definitely use it yourself in the future. So we want to rent this holy sword. You should know that besides Korea, there are hundreds of black towers around the world. Right now, there are not many countries that have reached the 60th floor, but later all of them will definitely need it. As long as you rent out the holy sword at a high price, your wealth will reach a level beyond imagination. If you have any questions about this plan, just ask directly. No problem, let's do it your way. You're basically my financial advisor. The scene shifted, and Bong Joon-hyuk returned to his new home. Just thinking about how he could lie back and count money in the future by renting out the holy sword made him too excited to sleep. To celebrate the day, Bong Joon-hyuk specially prepared a lavish feast. I never imagined Master would cook personally. This is deeply moving. Eat as much as you want. From now on, eat whatever you want. Without you guys, I never would have made it this far. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. Today, at last, the cooldown for random summon had ended. Please, I beg God to bless me. Give me an LSSR companion. It has to be legendary, something especially rare. Don't worry, Master, this time it will definitely work. There's no way we'll get another guy like Gobang. You really are something. Why are you so biased against Gobang? If it weren't for Gobang, could we have cleared everything this easily? Cossack froze on the spot, too awkward to say a word. Beside him, Gobang gave Cossack a smug grin. Alright, quiet down. I'm starting now. Skill random summon activated. The next second, a humanoid silhouette lit up before them, its outline gradually becoming solid. Thank you for summoning me. Giant Dalray greets Master. Name, Giant Dalray. Rank, SSR, Special Super Rare. Class, Shaman. The three grown men stared at the woman before them and all froze on the spot. Even Cossack, for a moment, had no idea how to handle the situation. But right then, she directly conjured her weapon. A shaman bell in her left hand, a crescent blade in her right. Though I have my shortcomings, I swear, I will devote all my strength to protecting Master. Bong Juhyeok stared at her weapons and could not help but wonder, was this really a wizard? You rude man. What kind of look is that? How dare you stare at a young lady with such wicked eyes? You must receive divine punishment and be brought to your senses. Cossack instantly broke down. I was just curious and took one extra look. Silence, and you dare lie right in front of me. Sensing that the atmosphere had turned bad, Bong Juhyeok quickly stepped forward to calm everyone down. But after Giant Dalray swept him with that sharp gaze, he immediately backed down too. Fortunately, Giant Dalray gave him face and raised her hand to put away her weapon. None of the heroic spirits Bong Juhyeok had summoned were normal, but at least, she was SSR. In other words, her strength should be no worse than Cossack's. It was just that he still was not sure whether there were higher tiers even among SSRs. Just then, Bong Juhyeok felt that thing coming again. The next second, his consciousness was pulled into Giant Dalray's memory space. An ancient building came into view, with the sound of shaman bells constantly echoing within it. Giant Dalray, daughter of Emperor Mujong of the Heavenly Empire. From childhood, she was obsessed with the state religion, shamanism, and after growing up became a shaman priestess of the royal shrine. After Emperor Mujong passed away, her younger brother ascended the throne. But not long after the new emperor's accession, he was murdered by their uncle, who then usurped the imperial throne. In towering rage, she made a blood oath of revenge and carried out a death curse ritual. Her uncle used every possible means to guard against revenge, setting up magic formations in the palace and even preparing scapegoats in a delusional attempt to bear the curse in his place. But from childhood, Giant Dalray had studied under the chief god of the Heavenly Empire, and she was the strongest shaman of her generation, unstoppable by anyone. But in the end, using a death curse for personal vengeance went against heaven's will. Though she completed her revenge, the curse backfired on her, and in the end her short life came to an end. Only then did Bong Juhyeok understand where her leadership-like pressure, so mismatched with her appearance, and her extremely serious personality came from. Bong Juhyeok wanted to ask her one thing. What was the name of the founding emperor of the Heavenly Empire? That was our great sovereign, Guanjiang. What did you say? The founding emperor of the Heavenly Empire was called Guanjiang? Could that have been a parallel world? In Giant Dalray's world, the one who ultimately unified the three kingdoms was not Goguryeo, but later Beach. Cossack had also once mentioned that he and his previous summoner had acted in a place like Earth. Bong Juhyeok wanted to keep asking more about the history of parallel worlds, but his stomach inconveniently growled. Since everyone's here, let me treat you all to ramen. Great, I want mine mild, no chili. As long as it tastes good, I'm fine with anything. What about Giant Dalray? I'm not picky either. Master's ramen is the best. I can't wait anymore. Hold on, it'll be ready soon. When Giant Dalray saw this scene, she was utterly stunned. You two rude men. How can you let Master personally cook for us? Cossack waved his hand impatiently. We're both SSR. Don't you think it's going too far for you to order us around like this? Giant Dalray instantly flew into a rage. I originally only intended to lecture you a little, but now it seems, words cannot save you. As she spoke, she began reciting a shaman incantation. The moment Cossack heard the chanting, his expression changed drastically. Stop right now. I hate that stuff the most. The next second, Cossack and Gobang directly flashed into the kitchen and obediently went to cook ramen. Bong Juhyeok watched with a baffled expression. What level of spell was that, to scare a mad assassin and a savage warrior like this? The scene shifted, and they began today's climb of the 30th floor. Bong Juhyeok suddenly realized that having Giant Dalray by his side seemed pretty nice too. At the very least, she could keep Cossack completely in line. Maybe today, he could finally kill a few more monsters himself. Master, please stay in a safe place and do not move around. You rude man, how can you speak to Master like that? I'm sorry, Master, please hunt to your heart's content. Thinking of that, Bong Joon-hyuk was incredibly excited, but reality was often absurdly different from expectations. Miss Giant Dalray, you are responsible for protecting Master. Leave the monsters to me and the tank. I thought you were all narrow-minded country bumpkins, but at a critical moment, you at least know how to assign battle roles. 30th floor mission, kill 80 orcs of any type, as well as one two-headed orc, within 13 hours. At this moment, standing behind Giant Dalray, Bong Joon-hyuk could not help being curious. Just how exactly did she fight? He saw her casually take out several strange items and attach them one by one to herself. The rectangular box at her waist even played music intermittently. How embarrassing. Normally, I need my chief drummer to keep the rhythm steady, but now that I am alone, I can only use this as a substitute. The next second, the tank and Cossack charged straight into the monster horde. Giant Dalray immediately pressed play. A graceful melody rang out, and Cossack and the tank instantly felt the surrounding power begin to tremble. May the gods of heaven and earth bless us, be scattered, you evil fiends. The next second, the mirror hanging before Giant Dalray's chest burst out with dazzling white light. The entire area was completely illuminated by the white glow. Bathed in the light, Bong Joon-hyuk could clearly feel his own power surging upward. Even the tank's body began to swell. Its defense became absurdly strong, and even several orcs attacking together could not break through it. With one charge, it sent the orc pack scattering and flying. Cossack also received the enhancement, becoming even faster, and in the blink of an eye he had wiped out all the surrounding orcs. This feeling is amazing. Bong Joon-hyuk had originally thought Giant Dalray was a shaman who cast curses on enemies, but unexpectedly, she could not only buff her allies, she could even restrict the enemy's movements. At that moment, Bong Joon-hyuk felt capable again and wanted to charge up personally and fight around. But unexpectedly, the moment he took a single step, Giant Dalray stopped him on the spot. Master, for your safety, please obediently stay to the side and watch. While Bong Joon-hyuk was still thinking about how to persuade Giant Dalray to let him join the fight, system notice, Black Tower 30th floor mission completed. Damn it, I didn't manage to steal even a single kill again this time. It's all your fault, Giant Dalray. Unexpectedly, after he said that, Giant Dalray immediately began crying in grievance. Bong Joon-hyuk froze on the spot, completely not knowing how to clean this up. Please don't be angry, Master. I was only worried about your safety. The people around me always disappear one after another. Someday, you two will suddenly leave. Only then did Bong Joon-hyuk realize Giant Dalray had lost her father at a young age, then was betrayed by the uncle she trusted, and had even watched her younger brother die with her own eyes. For the sake of revenge, even knowing she herself would also die, she still cast the death curse. What exactly had filled her heart at that time? Loneliness, fear, despair. This girl who had lost everything had been summoned here, not as some heroic spirit to be labeled by others. She had emotions and reason just the same. Perhaps her usual dignity was only there to cover the heart that broke easily. Don't worry. I will absolutely not go anywhere dangerous, I promise. At this moment, Cossack and the tank had just finished clearing the area and returned to regroup. Princess, why are you crying? Is it really because you treated me badly earlier and got scolded by Master? Of course not, Mr. Cossack. Why you got scolded? Don't you know perfectly well yourself? How could this happen? I'm so hurt, I want to cry too. You bastard, how dare you come near Master covered in monster blood? Get away, and if you don't move, I really am going to start chanting. The scene shifted, and they had already returned home. Having accumulated a total of 30 badges, Bong Joon-hyuk triggered another hidden reward. Obtained item, skill cooldown reset ticket. Great, that means I can immediately randomly summon another heroic spirit. Should I use it right now? But when Bong Joon-hyuk looked at this big family in front of him, he decided not to act for now. Their current combat power was enough, and he could only summon one heroic spirit at a time anyway. It would be safer to use it when it was truly needed. The scene shifted, following the 62nd floor. Korea's second-ranked hunter, Nam Gun, successfully cleared the 63rd floor. As shown in the video, this holy attribute holy sword is the key to defeating the undead. As long as you can resist the black aura they emit, undead are fundamentally no different from ordinary monsters. Now there is not much time left before the deadline to conquer the 66th floor. Since the top-ranked Du Cheol-min has defected to Japan, the entire nation is uneasy. But please rest assured, I promise that we will clear the 66th floor within 1 month. Additionally, we are considering renting out the Holy Sword globally. But I must state this in advance, we will absolutely not rent it to the country Du Cheol-min now belongs to. Hearing this, Du Cheol-min flew into a rage on the spot. You damned bastards. If you had brought out the Holy Sword earlier, why would I ever have needed to become a defector? At that moment, a man in a suit walked in from outside the door. He had been ordered to ask when Du Cheol-min planned to challenge the 57th floor of the Black Tower. Although they had previously agreed that he could take it slowly, Japan now could not even borrow the holy sword, so the higher-ups were demanding that Uchiyo Min act as soon as possible. Left with no choice, Uchiyo Min could only agree. He would challenge the 57th floor tomorrow. Thank you very much. Then please also appear on a television program to stabilize domestic public opinion. After delivering the message, the man in the suit turned and left the room. At this moment, Uchiyo Min's anger exploded completely. It was all because of that holy sword. If he found out who had brought it out, he would make that person pay the price. At this moment, the internet was flooded with the news. And what people discussed most was who exactly this holy sword belonged to. Watching netizens praise the mysterious owner to the heavens, Bong Joon-hyuk was starting to feel a little lightheaded with pride. The three behind him looked utterly speechless. Just then, the delivery Bong Joon-hyuk had ordered arrived, and inside were high-end ice creams in all kinds of flavors. When he had passed by the supermarket earlier and seen them, Bong Joon-hyuk had craved them badly. Anyway, my salary just came in today, so let me splurge for once. Ever since Giant Dalray arrived, Bong Joon-hyuk had to take the first bite whenever they ate. Alright, now you all come eat too. The next second, the two big food lovers immediately dug in. So good, my tongue is melting. You commoners have no manners at all. At all times, you must control your emotions and never show them outwardly. But the moment Giant Dalray took a bite of the ice cream, she was instantly pierced through by the deliciousness. At that moment, all expression management became meaningless. I saw that. Your expression just now was even more exaggerated than mine. In the Imperial Palace, my palate was already spoiled. But even so, I have never eaten anything this sweet. Princess, aren't you changing the subject? Thank you, Master, for bestowing such delicious food. If you like it, I'll buy more next time. After finishing the ice cream, Giant Dalray suddenly spoke. Before my summoning is released, I wish to perform a ritual for you, to bring you good fortune and drive away misfortune. May I ask whether Master has had any worries recently? I know one, Cossack immediately said. There's a bastard named Uchiyo Min. He then retold the entire defection incident from beginning to end. What? There is actually such a despicable and shameless man in this world. I will absolutely not let him go unpunished. He must pay the price. Master, may Giant Dalray obtain an item that Uchiyo Min once used? Bong Joon-hyuk refused on the spot. The death curse would backfire, and someone like that was not worth it. As expected of Master, I completely agree. Compassionate and wise. Please rest assured, what I intend to cast is not a death curse, but rather to make him taste karmic retribution. If karmic judgment is invoked, retribution will arrive sooner. The good and evil Uchiyo Min has done in his life will naturally bring blessings or disasters upon him. I am merely making heaven's judgment come faster. I guarantee that I will not suffer any harm because of it. If it was only that, then it really was much safer. So Giant Dalray once again activated her built-in speaker, and Cossack did not disappoint, successfully bringing back a television remote control that Uchiyo Min had used. I found this in the house he used to live in. It should be enough, right? Giant Dalray drew a dagger, and swiftly cut a streak of blood across her fingertip. Gods of heaven and earth, bear witness. Good and evil are both repaid, cause an effect will always cycle back. If this man's karmic burden is like a mountain, then let this mountain shatter today. If this man's karmic burden is like a river, then let this river flood today. With heaven and earth as the scale, weigh his sins. The next second, a force of karma wrapped around the remote control. Then it suddenly dropped to the ground with a dull thud. What remained only needed to be left to heaven's judgment. If his sins were minor, he would merely suffer small misfortune. If his sins were grave, then great disaster would surely befall him. Elsewhere, Uchiyo Min appeared on a television program. Now he had become Japan's only hope for conquering the Black Tower. And the moment he appeared, he received a warm ovation from the live audience. Mr. Uchiyo Min, thank you for appearing on today's program. I heard you were preparing to clear the 57th floor today, but there is still plenty of time before the deadline, so why the rush? You're right, taking it slowly would also work. But I want to give the people of this country a little hope. You are so considerate. As a Japanese citizen, I feel very reassured. As you know, before your naturalization, we lost our top hunter, and the whole nation suffered greatly. Don't worry. With my level 66 strength, clearing the 57th floor is easy. 5 hours, and I'll finish it. As long as I am here, Japan will no longer be in danger. I'll prove it to you right now. After saying that, Uchiyo Min began today's Black Tower raid. Japan Black Tower 57th floor mission. Hunt 15 flame wyverns within 14 hours. Flame wyverns feed on ogres, and aside from true dragons, they are almost regarded as the rulers of the skies. But Uchiyo Min had repeatedly farmed the 57th floor before and understood its patterns perfectly. But just then, he inexplicably felt a chill run down his back, and immediately took out a bow from his system storage. Tower climbing challenges were usually solo operations, and once surrounded by multiple giant magical beasts, the situation became extremely dangerous. so he had to first lock onto an isolated target and defeat them one by one. If it were an ordinary archer, once forced into close range, they would have to pull back. But he was an all-weapon user. If enemies got close, he would switch to melee weapons. Right now, all he needed to do was rain arrows down. But who could have expected that the arrow shot toward the wyvern in front of him would bounce off the instant it hit the dragon's claw, and directly strike another flame wyvern not far away. Damn it, why am I so unlucky today, to run into something like this? Difficult as it was, even fighting two at once was still manageable for him. After a fierce struggle, Yu Cheol-min killed 2 wyverns. What is going on today? In that whole fight just now, I didn't land a single critical hit. Is that even reasonable? Forget it, on to the next one. But just as he prepared to pull the trigger, a violent itch suddenly surged through his nose. He sneezed, and the bow fired by accident. The arrow missed its target and shot into the wyvern pack, instantly drawing 3 wyverns into a dive toward him. With 3 attacking at once, Yu Cheol-min felt fear for the first time, and 3 streams of dragon breath blasted out, turning the ground into a sea of flames. Yu Cheol-min immediately leaped into the air to dodge. What is going on? Dragon breath puts a burden on the wyverns themselves, so they rarely use it normally. But now 3 of them actually breathed at the same time. I have no choice but to reveal all my trump cards. After a brutal battle, he finally dealt with 2 of them, leaving only one half-dead wyvern collapsed on the ground. Even though my luck was bad today, the result isn't bad. Maybe I can even break the floor clear record while I'm at it. That dying wyvern suddenly let out a deafening roar. A final struggle? Useless. All I need to do is keep my distance and wait for your strength to run out. You're as good as dead. But to his utter disbelief, Yu Cheol-min stepped backward and landed on something. Damn it, why is there a dragon egg here? The hatchling he stepped on let out a miserable scream that echoed through the sky. But wyverns were supposed to lay eggs only in high places, so why was an egg on the ground? Even worse, when the nearby wyvern flock heard the hatchling's cry, they all charged this way. Can someone tell me, what exactly happened today? If he did not retreat now, he would lose his life here. Rather than die inside the tower, he would rather go out and endure humiliation. At this point, the challenge was failed. Meanwhile outside, a girl group member was performing a cute dance on stage, seeming never give up, and the next second, Yu Cheol-min crashed straight back into the middle of the stage. Not caring what anyone thought, he first gulped down a healing potion. Everyone, look, Hunter Yu Cheol-min has returned. Let's applaud our hero. But the recovered Yu Cheol-min completely ignored the cheers, and under the stunned gaze of the entire venue, turned around and walked off. In no time, the news of Yu Cheol-min's failed conquest spread around the world. The internet was flooded with insults, and he completely became the laughingstock of everyone. Meanwhile, Bong Joo-hyuk once again cleared the Black Tower's 31st floor, but still failed to participate in battle, leaving him terribly disappointed. On the other side, Nam-gun kept breaking records with the power of the Holy Sword. The scene shifted to America, where they were discussing whether to borrow the Holy Sword from Korea. We still have plenty of time on our 67th floor. Why is Gerard in such a hurry to clear it? What exactly is he trying to do? He says he wants to repeatedly farm the floor to conduct tests. Also, Japan contacted us too, hoping we would step in to help, then squeeze every bit of profit out of them. I say we should collect the Holy Sword rental fee from Japan. Just keep dragging out the negotiations until they break down at the final deadline. When Japan is truly cornered and utterly desperate, only then can we get the maximum benefit.